Welcome back to the WatchTower Film Podcast, the film review podcast on the Towercast Network by cinephiles for cinephiles. I'm watching the video on IMDb because it's the same version I have of the Blu-ray. That's what it's announcing.
Nice.
Of the Blu-ray collection. That's pretty cool. We're back. Hey, I know that guy. You guys know that guy.
We've talked to that guy. That's our homie, bro.
That's Giancarlo.
Can we focus back here?
Oh, sorry. We're back.
Can I unmute him now?
Yeah, sure. We're here on our final episode of the OG Blockbuster Month.
Yes.
OG Blockbuster. Oh, I thought everybody else was going to like it.
Joining me today, a bit offbeat, are my fellow co-host, Mr. John Eric Castro.
How you guys doing? Giving you the actor's perspective and a 2024 analysis of this film. Not a 1777.
Not a 1777.
Thank you, because you were bitching at me the entire time we were watching about, dude, that was 1977. Imagine 1977, bro. No, fuck 1977. We're talking about today. Mr. Michael Lau offering a cinematography perspective.
Yes!
Sippy
Man, I
McLizzy.
love that guy, dude.
Sippy McLizzy. I like
Dude,
it.
That guy. Every time I see him, just
I'm the only one that knows what you're referencing. We taught a lion to eat tofu.
I want to be included.
The poor lion.
I love inside jokes, guys.
And man, making sure we're sounding good in the back, Mr. Austin Young.
Yeah.
On the ones and twos.
Who has that as
Hey.
a ringtone?
I have a gripe with you.
Me.
Ooh,
So
starting
does the rest of the
off.
audience.
Yes.
Because the last episode, though you didn't have a mic, you did have a camera.
Tell him.
And you didn't cut to it, motherfucker.
Oh,
The only
what?
one with a camera.
What do you mean?
You didn't cut at all to
Not
your
even
camera
once
last
or twice?
episode.
Maybe
No,
three
what you
times?
talking about?
Not even once or twice.
Why?
Who else has a gripe with it?
Me.
People from home.
I just
Like
noticed
who?
this.
Like,
Dude,
Oh,
I
so
had,
you don't even watch it?
dude, I had like 6 messages about that shit, bro.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Show them to me.
I deleted them by accident, bro.
genuinely had a couple people ask me.
of them.
Like who?
Like Ian at work and Bones.
And fucking...
Bones didn't say anything.
To me, because I spoke to him on the phone.
Yeah, but he would have told me.
Oh,
There's this
do
girl
you
named
remember my,
Eliza. Another one named
associate
Jennifer.
from high school that I don't really deal with. He did mention it.
Yeah.
Although I didn't really talk to Bones on the phone.
Yeah,
so-
exactly.
No, but I
yeah,
noticed.
that
and that's what's
associate-
important.
That associate from high
Because
school really
nobody
disappointed.
here watches it except me.
I watch it.
I listened to it.
Dude, you don't think the audience wants to see the face of that beautiful voice?
No.
What do you mean?
He didn't even
And
have a mic
joining
on him
us-
last time, but he was talking because the cameras were picking him up.
Exactly.
And
The
joining
camera-
us,
Our
our humble
humble-
film
Servant
Carlos
M.
What is
What's the M for?
La?
Miguel.
Tor.
Definitely not Miguel.
Mario?
Well,
Mega.
Mystery?
Megatron.
Mega
Mega
Della
fat.
Torre. It sounds really negative when you guys say it. You know,
Why?
like I'm the servant.
No,
that's how you present yourself.
You
I'm
deserve
your
it, man.
humble film
Yeah,
servant.
you deserve this.
Wait, Delau, do your best Carlos impersonation introducing himself.
I love movies and whiskey.
Why are you singing?
You sound like Kermit.
Deborah.
I know, Jesus.
Deborah.
Deborah.
I mean,
It's pretty good, pal.
for everybody at home, that is non-alcoholic beer.
Hey,
Yeah,
man, why you gotta
because-
call us out like that? You know what I mean? Like,
It
so,
should be
like,
called out like that, man.
If you drink enough of those, you get like fucked up.
Yeah, right?
No,
No,
there's
it's not-
no
there's no
alcohol.
But like if you drink
But,
enough
like,
of them, you get pretty fucked up, right?
No,
It's
that's
just-
they just taste like beer but without the alcohol.
I don't know. I'm not a
What's the fucking
mathematician.
point?
you want to do some lines of baking powder?
I'm your humble film servant.
I hope
Carlos
we all
Del Torre.
And the most badass lighting guy in El Paso, bro.
Yeah, I
Not
turn them on
currently,
and off.
but
That's not the only thing I turn on and off, right? Meg?
I don't think you heard me.
Yeah, it's okay.
Why did you have to
Shout out,
mention
Tommy.
it?
I don't know. I just thought you wanted a shout out. Maybe she doesn't.
We're back.
Back me up, man.
We're here talking about 1977. George Lucas,
the
the one that
famous-
kicked it off.
Hobbit.
Yes, sir.
Not The Hobbit. Star Wars, Episode 4, A New
Nope.
Hope.
No.
No,
Just Star
Star
Wars.
Wars.
Not according to
Shut up.
IMDb.
Star Wars.
What do you mean?
Wars.
Why?
Because
We're
that's
teleporting
all
back
it
to
was back in
1977
No.
So when did A New Hope that title come
When
into play?
sequel-
when
Sequels came
Empire
out.
came out.
Yeah, when
So they didn't plan it out? Like they didn't plan
No.
a sequel until...
wrong.
He planned a sequel. He did plan a sequel, but it wasn't until they were writing Raiders of the Lost Ark, like when they kind of started kicking off that idea, that they were like, oh, okay.
How long was it from the first one to the second one?
Well, it made so much money to do that. Like That's funny. There's a lot of controversy behind that statement because basically, do you guys remember the shot at the end where Vader's like spinning off into space?
Yeah.
Most of the crew was adamantly against that shot because it directly was trying to wink to that he's alive and there would be a sequel. And Lucas was like insistent that he needed it. Like, no, we need it in there. We need it in there. I don't know that it's needed, but because otherwise we could have just thought he died, right?
But it'll give you that 50-50, right?
Setting it up for a sequel.
Yeah.
Well, that's why. But believe it or not, in 1977, 1976, in the 70s, whenever you would do that for a film, they alrighty, Rue, they would knowingly know that the sequels were cash grabs. Period.
Okay.
They were like adamantly with that. Like, if we're gonna make a sequel to film, it's just for the cash grab. So by setting up a sequel, that was the mentality you're heading into.
And for the audience or for the
No, the crew, like filmmakers.
Oh, okay.
So they didn't want to set up sequels because it would be like a cheap move. And Lucas was like, no, we need it. Lucas, by the way, was adamantly like knowing that this film was going to fail, according to him. He thought this film was a failure. It was not going to do anything at the box office. And there's a lot of examples to why he thought that. But yeah. Star
His
Wars.
wife saved it.
Star Wars.
His wife at the time saved it.
His wife saved it. And, thank God to an extent that...
Thank God to film editors.
Thank God for wives.
Definitely.
Yep.
I will say, thank God for Spielberg. I know this has been basically Spielberg month. But, when he wrote the script, he presented it to his friends. He showed rough cuts to his friends, his filmmaker buddies.
That's nerve-wracking.
And Brian De Palma, the great Brian De Palma. If you don't know who Brian De Palma is, he directed Scarface.
He was the first one to win the De Palma Award, right?
No, definitely not. He wrote, he directed Scarface. He directed Carrie. He directed fucking legendary filmmaker.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Scorsese was part of that group, right? That's all.
Scorsese didn't really have much to say about it, but De Palma did. De Palma openly was like, dude, this is the worst piece of shit I've ever seen.
What about it was for him?
To a friend, right?
To fantasy, to...
Let me just put it to you this way. When he saw the crawl of the words, this is kind of what's helped him save it to an extent. George Lucas had a 6-page fucking crawl.
Nah.
Like depicting...
Also,
That's
little
laughable.
fun fact about the crawl. The first time a Union film didn't open with credits was this one.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Well,
cool.
This crawl, man, had to be rewritten. He's like, Brian De Palma pulled him aside and was like, dude, let me rewrite this for you. And him...
It's too wordy.
And Jay Cox, if you guys remember Jay Cox wrote Silence, Gangs of New York, Age
Shout
of
out to
Innocence.
Cox.
Definitely shout out to Cox. They
Wieners.
rewrote the crawl. And now we have the crawl we see.
Yeah.
Like it was them.
Short.
It was their doing.
What is it? 2 paragraphs, straight to the point?
Somewhere in that vein, right?
Yeah.
But they just got it to where it needed to be. Because George Lucas, I mean, to his credit, George Lucas was trying to build a world, right? So he developed all of this backstory, which would eventually go on to be the prequels, right?
Right.
But that originally was going to be in the crawl.
No.
Talking about like the Dark Emperors and talking about like fucking everything, dude. Like the
crazy.
Republic,
Because-
everything.
I mean, whenever you're introducing, I feel like a new franchise, like what's the guy who did the Batman versus Superman and all that? What's that director?
Snyder.
Yeah, Zack Snyder, where he made one called like Rising Moon Part 1. And it's supposed to be this sci-fi epic, but he stapled on like part 1 because he really believed that there's a world to build.
Right.
But whenever you're introducing a new franchise, I mean, there's so much that you're trying to just pack in.
Yeah.
And that's the rough part. And I mean, Star Wars really is I feel like the quintessence when you think of like these really expansive worlds that take way too long to try to fit in, but you're trying to do it in this smooth way. And I mean, when you watch every Star Wars film, I feel like they all have that similar beat where it's like, okay, let's give you a little bit more information. Let's
Right.
kind of guide you a little bit more into it. And then now these spinoffs really show you how big the world has evolved. But
Right.
even just to get it enough where you could make a standalone film like this one, you had to do so much preemptive explaining that there's the evil empire versus the rebels, and that the rebels are currently close to defeating this bigger thing that we don't really know about, but they need to save the planet. And then we jump into that chase.
Yeah.
And it really does throw us straight in.
Well,
But yeah.
to kind of bring it back to the corral, and that exposition-y part, right? Which
Yeah.
we even see in the dialogue. De Palma, George Lucas was always convinced, like, this film's gonna suck. It's not gonna make any money at the box
I
office.
kind of bullshit on that. 'Cause, like, come
No,
on.
dude, like, genuinely, let me tell you why. Spielberg turned around and said, dude, this thing's gonna be the biggest fucking thing ever. Mark my words, this thing's gonna be the biggest fucking thing ever.
The script or after what was done?
When they saw the script and the rough cut.
So
when they
Spielberg
saw
was
the
out
rough cut, they hadn't finished all the special effects shots yet, right? So what was replaced in the rough cuts
Yeah.
was like footage from war films, basically,
What?
like old Howard
Yeah.
Hughes films.
Like,
or
instead of
like,
the pew, 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 they
yeah,
just
it
showed,
was
like,
like
this is how it's
war
gonna look.
films. Yeah,
Instead
basically.
of like the TIE fighters and
Yeah.
the X
Right,
Wings
right.
and all that. Yeah.
So, like Spielberg, De Palma, Scorsese, all these guys were like, "The fuck was that?" Like, I know that's from Howard Hughes was, Hell's Angels, or like I
Right,
know
right.
that, And he was like, "Oh no, it's because like they're just placeholders, And so they just had a hard time following it, but still Spielberg was like, "Dude, this shit's gonna be amazing
'Cause he knows
like
about
finish it, like
yeah.
this thing's gonna be amazing,
World building.
And they were like, "I bet you this motherfucking." So at the time, Spielberg was finishing Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and George Lucas saw a cut of that, and.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah, our little 3D printed TIE fighters. Thank you, Ryan. Shout out, Ryan.
X-Wings, fool.
X-Wings, sorry, X-Wings.
Oh, dude, we just lost half of our
I
audience just
know,
because of that. Dude.
because of the nerd factor.
Oh, we just lost 75%.
No, but
Virgin accept the term now.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Nerd.
a point of pride.
It means whale penis in German.
And this is a lot to
Alright.
talk about too. The
Ned.
The miniatures? Or?
merchandise and all that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was going to say, so like,
Yeah.
when it comes to that, George Lucas and Spielberg placed a bet. And
Much like our bet.
they said, "Look, dude, George Lucas was like, Close Encounters is going to be the movie of the year. They got released the same year." And Spielberg was like, "No, Star Wars is going to be the biggest film ever." And they were like, "All right, cool, gentleman's agreement." George Lucas proposed this. I'll give you 2.5% of Star Wars. You give me 2.5% of Close Encounters, and let's see who wins.
That's not a bet. That's
So Spielberg owns 2.5% of Star Wars,
Oh,
and has
wow.
made money off of Star Wars for the past 40 years.
Smart.
Yeah, and well, you
Just
know,
on a bet?
fucking Lucas is making whatever Close Encounters makes now. You know? But yeah, so although
makes $15
he
a
wasn't
year.
completely off, right? Because what
Yeah.
Lucas did with the studio was, hey, I'll take a pay cut as a writer director if I get 40% of the merchandise. So he owns 40% of the Star Wars merchandising. Well, probably not anymore since
40
he sold,
points,
but
bro.
40% of lunch boxes and action figures and
To be
fucking.
fair, I feel like Lucas has always been driven by money, though.
No, but that's why he sold it. He just,
I don't know. I don't think so. I think Lucas has always wanted to be an artist and admired guys like Kurosawa and stuff like that. But he just always had a brain for business, And I think him like seeing what Francis Ford Coppola did when they started, American Zoetrope. I think he just learned the business and he knew what to bet on and what not to bet on, and I think that's what kind of shifted his career. But I do think Lucas was trying to be an artist. He just wasn't really good at it. I also think staying in the Star Wars universe for too long was fucked him, man. Like, it made a shit ton of money, but if he would have made more things like American Graffiti, man, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
I haven't seen THX. Is it good?
That's Spielberg, right? Or is that
it's
Lucas?
That's Lucas.
Is it
was
his,
Lucas' fresh
Lucas?
feature film?
Freshman film?
His freshman film. I don't. It's okay. It's original. It's got a voice. But Lucas, look, I'm very, very. I'm a advocate of we build on what we've learned of the past masters, right?
yeah.
But straight up stealing shit, sometimes there's a fine line.
You
And
saying Lucas did that with this one?
Oh, the Lucas
Oh,
definitely.
yeah, I remember
did it
seeing
with
the
this
video,
one.
yeah.
They're side by side.
But no, it's not
shit.
stealing, man. It's like anything else.
Can you
We're
pull
seeing
up
that in music
the
today.
side by side for?
So, like, of Hidden Fortress, of Yojimbo, any of the Kurosawa samurai films, basically. Not just that. Do some side-by-sides of the set design of Star Wars versus 2001: A Space Odyssey. Think about the inside of the Millennium Falcon.
Okay. And then the other guy when he's running around?
Space Odyssey.
Uh-huh.
When he's, like, the famous...
They're running around? They're running... I mean, kind of.
No, and what's crazy is
Yeah, I
that
saw this video with you and Llama.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I saw Llama today.
Oh, bro?
That K-tip.
How's he doing?
Yeah, he's around. He's a big Trump advocate.
Oh, he's vocal about it.
Oh yeah.
We're not bringing that up, are we?
Oh, wow, dude. I mean,
It's just.
I don't agree with you on that.
Oh my God, look at that
I could be wrong,
one.
but Austin may be able
That's
to show
what every
this,
hangar looks like in Star Wars. That rectangle
Yeah.
with the mechanics on top and bottom.
Again, that's cool, man. You're gonna pay homage,
yeah,
whatever.
big homage.
But it's not homage. It's,
not. It's straight up stealing, dude. I mean, straight up like
Stealing.
Look at the
Damn,
systems.
dude, I can't make a good fucking case for that.
go to the Kurosawa side by sides.
I don't know. Audience, do you guys agree with that? I think it's homage.
I think
Look
It-
at this.
Because everybody's
it's
doing
gotten
it.
more original
Yeah.
as time's gone on.
Look, they did Hidden Fortress with the Star Wars.
Come on, get out of here.
No, wait,
Get
man.
outta here.
Wait.
That's inspired by.
Just wait.
Yeah, see?
That's inspired by. Nah, dude, y'all reaching.
Dude, there's some shots that are like
But I mean, if it's a couple of shots, but you're saying like almost all of them. No, there's not all of them.
nah, just wait. Just wait.
What are you guys talking about?
These two characters are those two characters.
Yeah.
Like, no, we can't unmute it, but like
They're the survivors.
The difference I see right away is they're both robots. The other
no,
ones aren't.
but they have personalities.
yeah,
and-
yeah. Look,
So
look,
it's
he
not.
goes.
So it's not 100%.
Well, dude, it's not the shot-for-shot remake of Psycho, but there's some shit, man. Like, look at this. Look at this.
Oh, nah,
look at this
bro.
battle.
No, my
look at
God.
what's framed.
And I'm kind of like
Oh,
disappointed.
and then
'cause
the
you guys are big
warriors
film
watching them.
buffs.
Look, the warriors in the back, like the stormtroopers here.
And I bet you those guys did that from another film.
No, buddy, this was Kurosawa.
Yeah, Kurosawa made this in what?
And you don't think
40s?
Kurosawa was inspired by some other fight that he
46.
saw, like in a film or?
In 46? No, when cinema's only 40 years old, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm trying to build a case, but I mean, nah, dude, I don't agree with that.
No, but
I-
you don't.
even my
You're not
case isn't
agreeing
strong.
with it because you're looking at the shots. We're talking about the story.
Either way,
Pull up the
If it's not a
synopsis of Hidden Fortress.
I know there's a lot of audience out there that if it's not 100%, hey, it was inspired. We see that in music a lot.
In music? Yeah,
Yeah,
they get
with
sued.
Drake. But
I
Drake does it a
feel-
lot, and he's like, no, I'm paying homage. He's like, no,
Again,
you said that
for
word
two
for
lines.
But word for word. This is
For
not
two
picture
lines,
frame by
not for
frame.
2 hours of a film. Watch. The synopsis of the Hidden Fortress. Kurosawa's
Try and fail to make a profit from
the
it.
Japanese peasants, Mataichi and Tahi, try and fail to make a profit from a tribal war. They find a man and a woman who they believe are simple tribe members hiding in a fortress. Although the peasants don't know that Rokuroda and Yuki is a princess, the peasants agree to accompany the pair safety in return for gold. What does that sound like? Han Solo. Along the way, the general must
Sounds
prove
like
his
it.
expertise in battle while also hiding his identity.
I
I
stand
mean,
by
that's
my
what
take.
Obi-Wan is doing, the Ben
Yes.
You agree
Kenobi
with that too,
character.
though? Like,
Yeah, I mean, because
so you're saying once you
No,
see
well,
a picture,
There's a princess to be
there-
saved.
no,
to
no.
Brown
You
Safety.
can't
There's
be
a
homage
war
with
going
it?
on.
no, but
So-
also
yes.
I forgot who wrote it. The hero's journey.
Yes.
He's talked about like that's a beat for beat what he was trying to follow. The like
What's his name?
hero's journey author, Joseph Campbell.
Yeah, 'cause
Joseph
it's-
Campbell.
Yeah, Joseph Campbell, who made the whole hero's journey like art.
baseline the storyline from original upon the hidden fortress.
Yeah, and then also
Sword
like
fights, rescued princes, warriors, code of honor.
like
Basing the storyline.
no, but
Not copying.
okay. When you put wait, when you put a base in a soup, that makes the soup, right?
I
Listen,
want.
okay.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I want- I don't want to.
Listen,
We'll get getting back to the
Yeah,
point.
we're not listening on this.
There's, I think George Lucas has been very vocal about the fact that he hated directing.
I feel like you hate George Lucas.
I don't. I think I have a lot more empathy for George Lucas.
Same after watching this one from beginning to end.
No, not because of that. I have no empathy for George Lucas there. I
No, I
have
do.
empathy for him as a director. This shit's hard, man.
Exactly.
This shit's hard. Okay, I can
scale of
just
it.
say that firsthand. This shit is hard. And when you're given your first kind of big shot at a $11 million film with a major studio, this was 20th Century Fox at the time producing the film. Nobody wanted to take a chance on this shit. Mostly because George Lucas was affiliated with Francis Ford Coppola, and Francis Ford Coppola is famous for losing money.
Yeah.
He didn't give a shit about money, and those were things that George Lucas would learn from him. Yeah, fuck it, let's make art for art's sake. And
I saw that speech with his new one. Like, I already
Yeah,
made so much
like-
money from the wine.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
well,
That's cool.
The thing about Lucas is Lucas has always been very vocal about hating Hollywood, hating the industry.
Oh, I never knew that.
So when he made a shit ton of money from Star Wars, he rarely ever depended from any studio to give him money for his future films.
I respect that.
He would fund this shit himself. That's why Lucasfilm, as an independent company, was independent up until the 90s when he started selling pieces of it to Disney.
Yeah.
It was in the 1980s that the first Star Wars ride opened at Disneyland. And he always wanted to have a relationship with Disney. That's why when he sold Lucasfilm to Disney for billions of dollars, it was always going to be Disney.
But and he was smart. That's a good partner.
It is a good partner. But I had
1990 when he started selling.
1990 was when he was piecing it off.
On the stocks.
I don't know that George Lucas as a voice in cinema had more to say past Star Wars.
Ooh, that's a good take.
And he was the co-creator of Indiana Jones, of course. We got to talk about those intellectual properties, and he always had a basis and a love for cinema. The biggest reason why I have empathy for George Lucas is because he's a preservationist. He wants to preserve cinema. He's actively have spent billions of dollars of his own money to preserve cinema. That, to me, he'll always have my respect for. He was one of the founders of the Film Foundation with Scorsese and Spielberg. And
So you're saying just because he hated or he didn't have a good relationship with Hollywood,
just don't think
he
he-
just never reached.
I think George Lucas's defense in all of this, and he has a really good defense. He has a really, really, really good defense. George Lucas was more worried about developing the technology to push cinema forward
that's
than
a
he
good
was about making cinema.
I respect that a lot.
So George Lucas is responsible for developing the first edit droid for Avid. It was his creation. The Avid droid, that was George Lucas's creation. It's still used in editing today. Modern digital editing was George Lucas's doing.
Also, wasn't he the first one to make a feature with purely digital cinema cameras that was meant
Yes.
for a mass market?
Yes, one of the prequels for Star
Yeah.
Wars.
One of the prequels.
I think it was
The first one. I think
Yeah,
it was the first one. Star Wars Episode 1.
yeah, the first
Shot
one.
entirely on digital cameras.
What is that? 2000?
Something in that.
99.
99. Not only that, but he knew what we saw. We kind of talked a little bit about this in our documentary month where we talked about side by side. He knew what the top of the photochemical process was going to be.
Yeah.
He was the one to shift into digital, period. Digital editing, digital cameras,
Big advocate.
digital playback, digital processing, everything. George Lucas also developed the first motion graphics computer with his company Industrial Light and Magic, which was called the Pixar computer, and sold it to Apple for billions of dollars.
Pixar.
And that's where the company Pixar came about,
Right.
3D animation. That was all Lucas.
So he's got his
all
hand in
Lucas.
everything,
So again,
yeah.
he has a good basis. He said it in the documentary, and side by side, he's like, well, I see the problems with the industry. I see the problems with the tech in the industry. So I'm going to take my money and my time, and I'm going to fix it. That's what he did with most of his career.
But so did James Cameron.
Yeah, but James Cameron was still actively making cinema.
That's
Also,
what I'm
that man
saying.
just likes fish.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you could do both. Why did this guy just stop with...
I don't think he had anything else to say.
Oh, that's such a... That's
And I
such
could
a
be wrong.
heavy-
There may be stacks of scripts
No,
sitting in his
but
house or something, but there's nothing
heavy-
actively out.
I also think that there's a very weird shift. Like you find filmmakers who they find their contribution to cinema through technical means.
Yeah.
I mean, like you look at
But then he saw his possibilities. Star Wars.
well, I mean, somebody who has a
His
good balance
potential.
of like technical improvements while also holding true to the form is somebody like Kubrick. Like Kubrick was the one to develop like impressive lenses and really push forward like different operations for like the camera to get different effects. Like, but he did that. To help benefit his stories. Like the stories were already there. There were stories he wanted to tell. So there's a good balance there, but I also feel like there's a lot of filmmakers that we really don't talk about that they were in the background developing technologies that we use today.
Lucas, like Cameron.
like there's a lot. Oh my God, I feel like there's so many names under the rug that I've learned about recently. Like the people who develop like the dolly track or like the dolly system of the day, or like the people that are improving that system. And it's all kind of like that. That's where their head's at. And sure, if they do that to assist in the production of a movie, or like saying, "Oh, if we need to get this shot," kind of like Cameron. If we need to film underwater, how do we do that?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it's not like that's their goal is to tell these great stories.
Although, think about Lucas's career, right? Lucas's career was solely spent in the Star Wars universe, at least on the storytelling front. But why was there? We ask ourselves, why were there 10 remasters? Because he was building. He was building up the technology. So he said, "Well, I have the property to do it. Let me fuck around. Let me see what I can do with this." I genuinely think that's what he was doing. I'm gonna do a remaster of Star Wars. Oh, by the way, a lot of people do this stuff also. The same in the music industry. They'll do remasters of the films so that they get more money.
But they don't change. They don't add stuff to it. Like they don't digitally put a rock. Do they?
Yes, they remix and remaster the albums a lot of the times.
But no, well, I'm talking strictly films. Like I know they remastered Titanic and all those. Like they don't. Add stuff.
Dude. No. Digital implementation is always a thing in remastering. Even if it's just cleaning up a wave. Even if it's
that's fine. That's fine. But adding the whole character in there
again, I think George Lucas was trying to bet on himself and say, "Hey, I know where digital's going, and it's not going to be here for 10 years, but I'm going to push it forward so that in 20 years it will be." You know,
we were talking about this when the film finished.
Yeah,
that if it's against movie ethics or filmmaking ethics, like it's like doing a song in '97 and then in 2011 putting an extra word in there just because it's convenient, political, whatever.
Look.
That's what it was back then. You could clean it up, make it a little bit more crispy, but adding characters, I'm not about that.
Yeah. He has a famous quote: "A film is never finished; it's only released." And I think that's just part of his philosophy. You know?
Oh, but I take that a different way.
How do you take it?
I had to release it.
Yeah, I think most people do. I think most people should.
That's why you see the theatrical release and then the director's cut. Because
10 years
theatrical refers to just like the... this is the piece I had to get out, especially like
There's so many politics with it
like
too, dude.
we're even talking about a film that's being shot right now.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because while it's being shot, they already have like it's going to be released on this date, meaning that like the studios are saying we're only going to pay this much if it's going to be released that date, and we're not going to want to push back and everything.
The reason George Lucas went with 20th Century Fox is because number one, they were the only ones interested. Number two, the president at the time, David something.
Soderbergh?
No. It's David, I forget his name, but
Russell
or something. David's, I forget his name. He was the only one that believed in Lucas and gave him control, basically, of the film.
Rightfully so, I guess. Yeah.
But outside of that kind of relationship, Lucas never really let any studio push him around because of the amount of money he had.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do in mainstream cinema, right? That's hard to do in
you're trying to please anybody, right? But he did.
But to Delal's point, I think when you're trying to do that, there will be a period of time where the studio has your ass, and they'll do whatever they want. They'll recut you. They'll release whatever version they see fit for the mass audience. And then in 20 years, you regain the rights of your fucking properties. Let me give you an example.
But
in music, Paul McCartney is barely buying back the rights to the Beatles' music.
Yeah.
With Yoko Ono.
Oh my god.
He's never owned. They signed a very shitty deal when they first became a band. Very shitty.
Yeah.
And then Michael Jackson bought their music. For out of spite, honestly. And then when he died, Sony bought Michael Jackson's music. And then piece by piece, Paul McCartney has just been buying his shit back. But all of the money ventures, they haven't really gotten money out of that until they retain the rights. But now that they retain the rights, there's a very famous case recently in music that Taylor Swift released the red version of whatever the album was, the Taylor's version. She remastered an album that was out 5 years ago for the sole purpose of, if I re-record the songs and change just enough of them, I own the rights again.
Oh, that's different.
That's kind of what Lucas did to an extent.
Oh, that's a very interesting, smart.
You change it enough to where you say, well, this is a remastered version.
And you only own the original.
Yeah.
I never looked like that. Okay, let me flirt with that.
And there's weird politics with it, dude. But I mean, I do feel, I empathize with George Lucas because it's hard to be a storyteller. And he made a choice to get caught up in the politics and technological advancement of it all, that I think he kind of made storytelling second, you know? He never kept developing original ideas because he's like, well, I'm going to fucking just work on the mess that this industry is technologically and politically.
Okay.
So I got to give him credit there. However, let's pinpoint Star Wars specifically.
Yes.
Whose choice was this one? Austin's?
Goop?
Yeah.
Oh.
Austin, why do we
You have the
do
floor, sir.
Star Wars, and also talk about which version you chose for us
Yeah.
to watch, because I think that's really cool.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
lead off with your ratings, and then you'll tell us what direction we're heading into.
So I wanted to talk about Jurassic Park this week. No, I think Star Wars is just like Jaws, one of the OG like blockbusters, and
Yeah.
I think it's very hard, and I think we're all struggling with it. At least I know me and Carlos are, of like being able to talk about just this film and not the entire franchise.
Yeah.
And when I was watching, I was even struggling like to separate everything that I know from the Star Wars universe from this one. So I really wanted to explore that avenue of how we could do that when it's already a franchise now with 11 movies and God
TV
knows how many
series,
shows
yeah.
and games and stuff. And
Don't forget the animated
Anything
series.
that's
well, yeah,
canon.
all the shows, and like every other year something's canon and then
Yeah,
something's not.
There's
And-
a tree branch and shit.
yeah, so I think that was the main reason I kind of wanted to talk about it. And we actually did get to watch the 1977 theatrical release version.
Original.
Which was basically
Somebody-
a rescan of
Yeah,
the
so the
original
pers-
film print.
Somebody
Yeah.
started a project called 4K77. Look it up.
4K77.
Basically, he took the original film print, and then here I can actually look at the process 1 second, because he talks about what he did.
Try to clip this into like
Sorry, hold on.
the episode, I guess. So the audience
Who
at home
did
will
this?
get bored.
No, he actually talks.
Scanned
about,
some prints and then used a bunch of the shelf software to remove.
No, he actually like goes into. Here we go. So he went from the original negative to a color separation, the traces to a positive print, and then put it into a 4K scanner. He even says in the blog that he can't tell you where to get it, but he can lead you to where you can find it. Because technically, I mean, it's still.
Yeah. Well, the point is, you can
Yeah.
you can watch the original theatrical version before the studio and Lucas
And you
Touched
should.
it.
touched it again to remaster
Yeah.
certain aspects of the film. Some people deem important. I don't deem much of it important, other than what they really fucked up with CGI in the newer versions.
Because I did show you guys a side by side of like the stuff they changed. Out
I
of it.
think
I
just like
watched the
again, I
original.
care about character, right? And the only character aspect that it really changed was the Greedo scene.
Yeah.
I mean that determines what side of Han Solo you're on. Short of that, I think a lot of these things are warranted. I think cleaning up a lot of it is cool, but I do agree with you that like CGI animals and a lot of that bullshit. just
I think it's just in the early scenes. In the early scenes, because I mean, it's not like they do a whole lot of like extra CGI elements in the later parts
Yeah.
when like they've already established Luke and
all they did
Obi-Wan
was
and all
just
that.
clean some stuff up.
Yeah, it's everything up till
Yeah.
the cantina. You know, I
Yeah.
feel like after the cantina
Yeah.
scene,
Yeah.
then they move forward with it.
But again, man, like even that scene specifically, I think as a storyteller, that scene is the most important scene for setting up the world.
Yeah.
Up until that point. So that's like crucial step,
I agree.
right? That's a crucial place in the film to.
By the way, I feel like they messed with Empire and Jedi a lot more, like in later years.
Okay.
More than the original one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that might be fresh, especially with like Jabba the Hutt and all these
Yeah.
like characters that you know. Yeah, I feel
But
that.
we're not here to talk about this.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But what about this? I mean, since I've met Austin and I when we first met, and we really started sinking our teeth into cinema. Star Wars was huge for us, like everything, and this was right around the time that the new films were coming out.
When 7 came out.
When 7 came out, and we were like really immersed in that world. And I know it's always kind of meant a lot to you.
Yeah, I've always loved Star Wars. I still remember like when my parents took me to go see Phantom Menace at the theater at Tinseltown. Yeah. And it's, I don't know, I just always loved it. It's a whole different world. And yeah, I don't know. It's just.
You know, one of those guys that what is it? The 1999. What is those sequels or the
Prequels.
The prequels. Are you the ones that didn't like them?
I like them.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I grew up on them.
Yeah.
Like, I think Phantom
Yeah, it was
Menace.
our generation.
Yeah, Phantom Menace, I think, was the first Star Wars I ever saw.
See, because my uncle grew up with the
Yeah, of
the
course.
70s.
Yeah.
originals.
So
And
then
hates the 2000 ones.
And I think that just comes from the idea of like whenever you do a prequel
Yeah.
or like a sequel and all that kind of stuff, you're making things very concrete, and I think that upsets people because let's
Yeah.
say if they imagined it a certain way or they liked the way the story was told before without all the very specific details.
I don't mean to sound diminishing, but to that point, most Star Wars fanatics, right?
Yeah,
They hate the prequels for two reasons.
Jar Jar Binks.
Sure.
So three reasons.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I'm sounding diminishing, but like
Yeah.
the main kind of big reasons is the love aspect, the Padme, Anakin, weird love shit,
Yeah, I've been hearing that song.
and the politics. The boring court scenes, right? Or what we can deem as the boring futuristic
Also,
space
explaining
republic court shit.
Also, another thing that a lot of people hate is that they explain what the Force is with the midichlorians and all that.
Too much.
That was another thing that a lot of people hated.
How much is too much, right?
Yeah.
That should be the title of this film, of this podcast. But what's your rating?
On Star Wars.
Yeah, just this one alone. I want to go back and watch everything else again, but again, we're not talking about that. We're talking about this one. Seeing again the original 1977 version, I'm sitting at like an 8.1.
Okay.
It's a
gonna be
very,
higher.
I think it's a very good telling of the hero's journey.
Yeah.
There are multiple arcs within the film. Obviously, I think Han Solo's arc is is the biggest one, and I possibly could say the most important one. I also think Obi-Wan's arc is very, very good as well.
What was Luke's?
Well, Luke,
Luke
always
doesn't really have one.
Right.
It's,
No,
That
no,
was-
no,
I was 'cause I
he
was like,
always-
this is the main guy.
No, he wanted
He
to-
has the eye. Well, he has the I want.
Yeah.
He has the want to get out of the
Yeah.
world that he's into.
But other people's arcs are bigger and better, I think, in this film.
I'll say that with Luke, his character is that he knows he can do more once he leaves his home.
Yeah.
And
So that's his arc, like knowing.
yeah,
like,
because
once
at the very end, he's solely
Open
the
up the
one
hero's
responsible for blowing up the Death
Open up
Star.
the hero's journey.
Everybody else tried to go there.
Open it.
Oh, open it?
Yeah. Everybody else tries to go and blow up the Death Star, and they know what to do, and
Joseph
they're
Campbell's.
using their what is it called? They're using their targeting systems and all that. But Luke was the only one who had the Force within him
Oh,
to go and do
okay,
that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
then
yeah.
at the very end,
Images. I'm sure there's a diagram or something.
yeah, you could images. But yeah, if you look at his being like, I have the potential to
That
be
one.
somebody, and then at the very end he is, like he at first he's one of the back team, like especially when they're flying around, it's like, oh, you're the third team up.
But
If
then,
we
yeah.
all suck, then you have to come in,
Right.
So-
and he's like, don't worry, I got this.
Let's talk about this really quick
Like,
because
hero's
we're talking
journey.
about arcs, right?
Yeah.
Joseph Campbell's A Hero's Journey. It's a book he wrote. Essentially, you could pull up a chart, and that's what I'll be reading.
It's a chart.
You have a character.
Gonna talk
This
about
is-
why the hero's journey exists.
the why.
Yeah,
What do you mean?
like why he wrote the hero's journey. Like Joseph Campbell, the whole idea behind it is that he believed that all major religions and all major stories and folklore
Right.
had a very central theme. Like there was a way to find the thorough line in every single story that's ever been made, ever will be made. And then he came up with this medium concept, which is the hero's journey.
What makes the greatest story ever told, right? Especially in religion. You have a character. Let's call him Luke. The film starts, or the story starts. This applies to books, plays, any story.
Yeah.
Any great
He has a call to adventure. What's his call to adventure? Well, he wants to get off this rock
Yeah.
because I know that my dad was a Jedi pilot.
And I don't
whatever
wanna
the
be a
fuck,
farmer.
you know?
He knows that he used to just fly, that's it.
Right. But he didn't want to go to the academy, right, to fly.
Yeah.
He wanted to do something outside
You know,
of
it's
his
something
norm.
that I still haven't been able to clear up. Is he wanting to join the Empire Academy or the Rebellion?
I think the rebellion, because that's why I think he had some knowledge of the Jedi already. Yeah, I really do
Yeah.
think that because why is it such a big deal to him?
Well,
You
the
know?
only reason I asked that is because at the time the Empire is like the government.
But he hated them, and he
Yeah.
was vocal about that.
Yeah.
Like he did say, like, I hate the Empire, I hate what they're doing. So
Yeah,
I'm
there
pretty
was a
sure
couple
there's
times we did mention
a
it.
rebellion, or
Yeah, okay.
So call to adventure. He meets a mentor, Obi-Wan.
That's
right?
always.
And this is divided between the normal world and the unknown, right? This is the hero's journey.
mean,
He crosses a threshold. Well,
Right.
what's that threshold for Luke? Well, his fucking family dies. All the family he knows dies. He crosses a threshold to be
Goes
able
to
to leave.
space.
He leaves.
Yeah.
The trials and failure, naturally, everything that comes his way with the battles.
Yeah.
He has a helper, Han Solo, Chewie, right?
Right.
Grows new skills. He's learning to be a Jedi. Death and rebirth. The old Luke, the old farmer Luke is dead. The new Jedi Luke is being born, right?
Well, also when Obi-Wan dies, that's kind of like the death
Yeah.
and the rebirth, because
You can see
he
it,
goes
yeah.
from being asking other people to help him and all that to
being the soul.
he's the hero. Yeah.
Taken. Yeah.
There's a revelation, although that, I mean, at least for
kinda-
his character arc, doesn't really come until episode 3 or episode 6.
Finally changes.
He finally changes. There's a sense of atonement. He gets a gift. In this case, he gets a reward for what he did. He returns to his world changed, or to normalcy changed.
Yeah.
And the end. Right.
Right.
End of the normal world. So this follows that to a T, right? Most cookie cutter stories do, right? We could spend a whole podcast talking about all of the other implementations of this. Things like the Harmonate, which I use a lot more than Campbell's Hero's Journey.
Yeah.
There's more details, but it's essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
This is what makes a quote unquote good story, right? The problem with arcs in this one,
Well, you're saying that his doesn't really come till not
Till
his
the
arc,
end
but
of
the
the
revelation.
trilogy.
Well, that whole
Whereas Han Solo's, you can see it from the start to the beginning.
well,
I'll argue that you don't even see Han Solo's till the end of the new trilogy, not the prequels. The new trilogy.
Well, I mean, on this film alone, he does
Yeah.
have an arc.
That-
also-
that's
Yeah,
like-
he comes back.
But it's
Yeah,
not
exactly.
his
He comes back.
full,
Yeah.
like...
he's just not thinking about the money. Yeah.
Well, again, it's like Austin says, it's hard to not think of these
Yeah.
characters outside of this little box. Right?
Exactly. That's what I'm. That's
Yeah.
what I'm basing.
Also,
it
I
on.
feel like in the revelation and the final changes for Luke's character, at first he just wants to kind of get away. He doesn't
Yeah.
really like the Empire, but he's not like politically motivated to do anything.
No.
It's not like him at the farm is like, oh, we're gonna try to like only support the
No, it's a
rebellion and all
Destiny
that.
thing, and
Yeah.
they say adamantly, like they do really specify that, like his friends his age have gone on to do other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like when he's having that conversation with Han, that's kind of like the revelation where he's like, "Oh, are you just gonna go and leave because of money when there's an empire and we could be part of something and all that?" And
That's Luke's.
that's Luke's because it solidifies that
it's
now.
being a part of bigger than something than yourself.
that now it's not just trying
Something
to
bigger than
leave.
yourself.
Like in a very
Oh,
simple
yeah,
way,
yeah.
he's not just trying to leave to be an adventurer anymore. Now he's trying to leave because he wants to do good. He has purpose now.
There's
Yeah.
a bigger. Yeah. There's a
I
bigger
will
picture.
say, for me, Han Solo's
That's true.
arc.
That's true.
Again, it's hard not to talk about the whole thing. For me, comes in like the one of the big lines in this one is that he's saying, "I don't believe in the Force. I think it's silly. I think it's a bunch of simple tricks." And in the new trilogy, he's very like, "No, this shit's real. like this shit is real. I believe."
But
in
even
the
in
an arc?
Force."
this,
Is
but
that
even
an
in
arc
this
or is
one,
it-
when Luke is getting into his ship, even tells
Yeah.
him like, "May the Force be with you."
Right. Yeah, you're right. There's a piece of that. 8.1.
8.1.
Where are we going?
Nice.
I want to finish with Carlos last. Because
Okay.
I think, like me, you're the one that's most attached to the Star Wars world. Goster, you said you haven't seen this in years.
I don't even think I saw it the whole way through. I think they
Oh,
just
wow.
showed
Okay.
it to me, and then this was the first time I saw it. The whole way
What's your fandom or knowledge of the Star Wars world?
through. Dude, the only thing I kind of remember is I saw The Last Jedi, which I know a lot of fans are gonna be like, "What?" Because I just skipped to the 7th or the 8th one.
You skipped.
9.
The Last Jedi. That's the only
Last
one I
Jedi, I
saw.
see 8th.
8th.
The 8th.
One of my personal favorites.
I don't really remember much. I just remember Darth Vader. I don't remember that he talked this much. Han
Probably because
Solo-
he's an entity, right? Like, and all the other Star Wars ones, he's this force.
Exactly.
Of
I
nature.
guess that's the way to
figure.
put it. Like I always thought like he was like this mysterious, robotic voice.
And by the way, even in this one, he only has 13 minutes of screen time.
That's a lot more than. Oh, I mean that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
it's 13 minutes.
But
I mean, you
pretty
didn't see
basic.
it.
Pretty basic. Chewbacca, R2D2. I know who those guys are, but I don't know about planets. I don't know about races. What planet they're on. None of that.
It's kind of important, right?
Yeah, this is the same thing with like the Dune. I can't get into the new Dune.
Oh,
'cause
man,
it's
dude.
just so complex.
I was on your boat for Dune, but once I saw Dune 2, I'm like ready for the third one.
But because you understood it, right?
Yeah, once the second one did, yeah.
Yeah, I went into it just thinking like, all
It
right,
requires
it's
a couple watches.
gonna be a good action film, but no.
By the way,
you gotta
I
pay
could be
attention.
wrong, but I think there's an argument there that on the books, the Doom books, one of them stole from the other. I forget how it comes about because like even in this one they talk about the mines, the spice mines.
Oh, yeah.
Spice Man.
Well, that's Dune.
They don't talk about it a whole lot here.
No.
Oh, you're
but-
saying that there's argument that they're in the same world?
Yeah, or no, that they stole from each other.
Yeah,
Like
or
whoever
inspired, whatever
the
you want to
author of Dune and Lucas. There's like I forget which one came first, but there is an argument there.
But Goster rating?
Since I saw it in 2024, there's a lot of things that I really didn't like. Obviously, right? It's not the perfect film. What I will give it credit is I am a sucker for anybody that's able to do come up with such a scale of a universe. Not just a world building, like a whole universe, building characters and then the details, and then coming up with these spaceships. am a sucker for those, so I'll probably give it an 8.5 just because I love anything like that. I love that he was able to, what do you call it?
Just kind of give us that like
be able to pull it off.
depth.
Like he
New
said
characters, new worlds.
he keeps
new
saying that
world
George
building.
Lucas said that he thought it was just going to be a bomb, but
Yeah.
nah, man, I think all the detail of something
Do
in
you
him.
feel like Lucas gave you enough in this film alone to understand it to get through the film?
Even in 2024, but like I'll put myself in 77, I'll be like, wow, that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that. So I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah.
For that, I'll give him an 8.5. Obviously, we'll go into like the music, the scores,
Yeah.
all of that, but 8.5 for right now.
All right.
Mr. Wiener Boy. Why do you have that hat today?
Not a wiener boy, he's a wiener man.
Why don't you tell us a story about
I
that
just
hat?
want
you
to
have on?
be respected and loved.
Do you just want to be the very
Don't wear
best?
those hats.
Delon, do better.
Why that hat today? Did you lose a bet or something?
I did lose a bet. I saw it. Okay, so my dad took me to Wiener Schnitzel, and then I saw that they were selling these hats, and I'm like, I know I can use this. Like I was like, I know there's gonna be some opportunity to use this, and it's gonna be so good. I heart wieners. Like it's too good. And even my dad looked at me like, why are you so excited about this hat? I'm like, you don't understand. Like just give me 5 minutes and $10.
He got
and
home
like,
and talked to Ann and was like, think we lost him, man.
yeah,
I think
you
that
know.
was it.
No, even when I told him, he's like, "What are you gonna do with that?" I'm like, "I'm taking it to the office." He's like, "You're gonna take it with the guys there?" I'm like, "Yeah." What's the
Say a
problem?
word, you're going to wear it to the screening
No,
on Saturday?
no. And then when I got here, it was just me and Austin, and I was like, "Hey, you know what? Austin, I got this plan," and I was like. It's foolproof. There can't be one thing that's gonna go wrong. I'm like, I just need to make a bet that I won't lose, and Carlos will. But
And I
he'll-
gave him the bet that he could beat you at.
What was the
Which
bet?
one was the bet?
I told him, I was like, bet him that you can jump higher than him.
I'm almost twice his size. What makes you think?
He can definitely jump higher than you.
yeah,
Yeah, he probably
I got
can. He
them
jumps on
hops.
fucking
But
apple
then
boxes
I would
for
tell
fun.
him that, and then he'd be like, no.
No, because
I'm going to do rock, paper, scissors with them.
What?
Yeah, no.
Possibility.
No. But then I was like, I got this. Like mind games. Like I'm ready. I'm the mental
The odds
fortitude
in
I
that are
have.
just ridiculously dumb, bro. The odds are just bad.
No, but I was like, I have the mental fortitude. I can do this. So I
There's
told
no mental to this.
I
It's
told
luck.
Carlos. I said,
What did we learn?
Best 2 of 3, or best 2
Best
of 3.
out of 3.
Best out of 3. And I was like, whoever wins has to wear the new hat. And he's like, what new hat? I'm like, don't worry about it. Do you agree? And he shook on it. And he's like, yeah, sure. I'll wear the new hat. Well, we go. Round 1, I win. Confidence to the roof. I'm ready to dominate over this guy.
I'm in this guy's head now.
And then second one, he wins. And I'm like, okay, make him think he has a chance.
Back
Third
down.
one, he wins again. So then I'm like, ah,
then
damn
he-
it.
And then he was like, come on. And I'm like, what do you mean?
No,
He's
but
like,
then he
"Best out of
tells
three."
Carlos, he's like, you cheated, Carlos.
Like,
you cheated.
I was ready. I had it all worked out. And then, you
How'd
know.
that work out for you, buddy?
And then he's like,
Rock
okay,
never
what was
fails.
the hat? And then I pull out the stupid I Heart Wiener. Yeah, so yeah, no, that's why we're here.
right.
Even though it's about an hour in.
Ratings.
So ratings. I
Did I go too high on 8.5?
no. Like I've just also been very detached from the series. And it's funny because I remember growing up.
Yeah.
And like liking the stormtroopers and their like the way they looked, but I didn't know too much about the story, and I for sure didn't like. I wasn't one of those fans who went in and deep dived into
Same. Yeah, same.
every single like the Clone Wars animated series,
Right.
the first one and then the second one because all that's canon and
And I
the
do.
characters.
Dude, and then
and-
apparently, like, Clone Wars didn't come out chronologically. You have to watch
I
this
didn't
and-
either. I'll be
Yeah.
honest, I got into the films.
Yeah, same.
And then at the beginning of the series, I was right there. The Mandalorian, boom, you got me. After that, I stopped.
During COVID, I tried watching Clone Wars and I couldn't, man.
Yeah, no, I did, and then plus there's the original Clone Wars, like the original.
movie.
No, the animated series. There was like an original animated series.
Yeah, there was like two different versions of it.
and I
remember?
remember that original one explained the battle on how Anakin lost his hand, And I just remember that scene that
Well,
it
the
was.
Clone Wars was between episode 2 and 3.
Yeah, but again, it's this weird kind of thing, but it's canon.
Yeah,
and
Let me write this shit down, dude.
Oh,
No,
you think this is expansive as a film for universes,
and-
dude? The Star Wars universe.
if you talk
There's
to
even novels.
I love it.
I mean, like
Comic books,
yeah.
novels, shows.
and you got to look at all of them, you know, like I forgot one, but there's one that's canon that's apparently really fun, and it's about these two stormtroopers or these
yeah.
two dudes
Yeah.
who like they
rogue.
were responsible for like certain people like getting on ships and all that kind of stuff, like, but
well, like with Rogue One, you know.
yeah, I just feel like I knew that it was fun. And I liked watching the movies, and I might not understand everything that's going on, but it's just they make it really fun to watch. And then also the movies, they do a good job of like trying to catch you up to speed. Like, okay, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys. They're chasing after each other. You already accept that we're in a weird space universe. Okay, fine, then we're there. But I've never been like a mega deep dive. I need to know every little individual thing. So I remember seeing A New Hope ages ago, and you know, like I thought it was fun, but it's been more than 10 years probably since I've seen like A New Hope. Like it's been a very, very long time. So watching it right now was a lot of fun because I remember very little of it. I remember the moments, but I don't remember like the dialogue or the way that they like were communicating story beats to each other, or even Luke's personality. Like I never knew that Luke was acts like such a little kid in the whole thing. Like when you see him at the beginning, he's like, "Oh, Luke,
I do my chores."
yeah, exactly. Like, hey, Luke,
Yeah.
go and clean the droids. Oh, but I was gonna go to the thing, and it's like,
I was going to go to the arcade with my buddy.
So I
exactly.
wasn't the only one. Okay.
Yeah,
I was
no.
like,
So I don't remember any of that.
Because Luke Skywalker in pop culture is this icon, right?
Exactly.
Is this hero?
I forgot
And
it as well.
Hero's journey, you know.
when you see him in the later ones, especially in the new ones, he's this tough
Yeah.
figure. He acts like
He's
Obi-Wan
Obi-Wan,
does. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's how they all
The
act.
Last
They all
Jedi.
just kind of get
Thrown into
old
that,
and
yeah.
stiff, and they're just like, you just don't get it.
Too old for this.
Yeah, exactly.
Lethal Weapon style.
Yeah.
Old for this stuff.
They were 42, bro.
No, and so seeing Mark Hamill, you know, when this is the movie that kind of kickstarted it all, just as a standalone, I was able to more easily than probably you two jump into that because I really didn't remember a whole lot. So, seeing a lot of the fights, the dialogue with Vader, the beats and how they kind of like manifested. To me, I feel like it follows a very similar pattern that I've seen with a lot of the blockbusters, especially this month. It's like a lot of them are introducing you into worlds that are way bigger than we have time for.
Yes.
But so I feel like you're dealing with storytelling that has to catch you up to speed while also giving you a solid story. And I think this one is probably the top of the challenge because, I mean, with like, let's say Jurassic Park, at the very beginning, we get an explanation of like, this is how we got the DNA. Now we got dinosaurs. They're in a park and these people have to survive it. Okay, go ahead. In Jaws, it's like, hey, we're about to have a summer like fiesta. There's a big shark in the water. We got to go kill it. Bah. But with this one, it's like, okay, we need to give you enough detail to understand that there is a space Nazi.
I think the difference too is, and I don't think it was planned, but Jaws could or could have not been a franchise.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park could or could have not been a franchise. Star Wars had to be a
Inevitable. Yeah.
No,
multi-story franchise.
I think.
What do you mean?
I think that this one could have sat by itself.
Really?
Even how it ended?
Genuinely, I think it could have sat by itself. I think it could have been something that had that kind of like pop culture iconicism, and there would have been that fun room for interpretation. Like I think people just knew that the world was so big that they wanted to explore more, and that's why it became a franchise. But
I think it was needed.
No,
even me right now seeing this when I was like,
I'm on the same boat as
whoa,
Scott.
hold on,
Like,
what's going on here?
I'll touch a little bit more on my argument, but this is where I think Castro has a point in the sense of, again, cinema being this act of catching lightning in a bottle. I don't think it was possible just for how much story there was in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I like.
I think Star Wars.
it's needed.
I think. Oh man, I think Star Wars should have been should have been Star Trek in the sense that you had 20 seasons of a show that really, really allowed you to dive into a story. I don't know
It's
that.
also to do with story building, though. It's hard to build or world building. It's hard to build this entire world in one film.
But
Exactly.
I've seen other films that have been able to do that well, and they use
Not even the new Dune. Not even Dune could do that in one film.
They tried to do it back in the
No,
80s
but
or
I mean-
70s, and it didn't work.
No,
This one
that
they
was
did-
just a
No, but
monstrosity of
look at
production.
like and I'm gonna have to go towards something that's
Go for it.
animated, but look at the Ghibli films and how expansive their worlds are. I mean, even like I'm not even going to talk about Spirited Away.
No, don't go there because
Why?
Because that's the rule of animation. Do something in animated sequences that you can't do in live action. Build a
I've heard
world
that.
that you can't build in live
Yeah.
action.
No, but I mean, look at what they did here. They were able to build the world through the props, the art, set design. The I even think that they found a nice balance. I'm not going to call it the perfect balance,
No.
but they did find a good balance between having dialogue that was meant to be very expositional and having dialogue that was meant to build the characters. I'm not calling it a perfect balance. I just think they found something. They found a line, you know?
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but when I look at like films like
I think you're right that they found a line to be palatable for mass audience.
yes. I'm not saying it's perfect. There's a lot in all the blockbusters I haven't
three,
found.
That's three so far. This thing's not perfect, but it's this. What's your rating?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
But I'm gonna finish on my point with Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, okay.
Because I feel like in those, like we look at like The Boy and the Heron. There's so much going on. There's so much in the world. There's so many worlds that each one has its own specific place. And I mean, when I was watching this, I don't remember half of the planets and what's going on. But then seeing it this time around and listening to the dialogue, I was able to pick up like why it was important when like one of the planets blew up, because it's
for
a home
sure.
planet. And I mean, sure, it's very expositional, but like her saying, wait, don't shoot them, they don't have weapons and it's a peaceful planet. And then when they do it anyway, then you know that builds tension.
Okay.
And the way that like
Something that our generation will understand. I think Studio Ghibli is poetry. I think Star Wars is like when you're playing a video game and it's got the video that's popping up to explain what you're about to get into, and you're just pressing X to put you in the next point.
Oh,
and it's
wow,
like
I've
these
never heard
small
that.
pieces of dialogue in the text box and small cutaway scenes, and you're just pressing X and X and X until you get to the fucking point. So you get to the fights. Studio Ghibli it's you could do or do without these worlds. It's the poetry behind the world building. It's not the world building for the sake of world building. I think Star Wars is a little more palatable and a little more a straight line in terms of world building and why it world builds. And I think that's why you're able to just pick up like, okay, Alderaan, okay, Tatooine, okay. You know, it's like-
I've noticed with like a lot of blockbusters, and
Right.
it's just because that's what my family's gone to see. Like when I was watching the new Ghostbusters, and with the new things that happen in the new Ghostbusters, they have to explain that now there's a secret ghost busting association that was started by somebody else, and these are the proproperties of ghosts now. Or like I watched the new Jurassic Parks and how they explain cloning and how that went to people. Or
I was watching a Ghostbusters Afterlife last night. While I was cooking. I love that film, like of that franchise. I think it's my favorite one. I love Jason Reitman to begin with. Let's not get into that, but I could watch it without watching it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I didn't need the touching factors of the big arcs about that specific film in the Ghostbusters franchise is that you have the family element, and the grandpa, and he's passed away, and he becomes kind of a force ghost of sorts.
No, yeah, and
that to me is cool. That's the arcs, but
I just felt like
it's a blockbuster.
Yeah, and for a blockbuster where they have to explain a lot so that way the movie can move on, there is a way to do it. I feel like I have seen films where I'm like, oh my God, we get it. Like you have to explain every little detail.
And you didn't feel that here.
I didn't feel that here.
Okay.
But
Okay.
am I not going to be your film buddy anymore?
No, dude.
Not for a week.
No, it's fine. I mean,
No, I felt again. I'm seeing it with like
Like fresher eyes.
The fresher eyes. I'm seeing it with a more forgiving sense.
Yeah. You're also fucking stalling. So what is your rating?
It's like a 7.8.
Okay.
Go on then.
I'm not stalling. I wanted to explain myself.
I understand. Look, by the way,
7.8.
I've been noticing this pattern, and you guys at home, let me know what you prefer. I prefer this over the flash bangs of ratings, you know, because you give your rating, you explain yourself, but you give your rating, and then you justify your rating. I think when you do that, then you could really, really like dig into it. So I prefer this. So don't worry. It's okay. I just think like you're like, I'm gonna get in trouble, so I'm gonna explain myself first. No,
I'm not.
Where are we at?
I don't think I'm gonna get in trouble. In fact, I feel like 7.8 is a lot more
warranted?
justified than an 8. Like, I don't think that this is pushed over the edge because, again, there is a lot of flaws in the fact that with any blockbuster I've seen recently, that exposition really does suck. It does suck that they have to do so much explaining. And I mean, I've noticed, it's funny. Every filmmaker has had a different way to get past it. Some will do a monologue at the beginning. Other ones will do a flashback. This one did a scroll, but after the scroll, they still need characters to explain why.
And by the way,
it's important.
Let's not mock the scroll. The scroll became an icon. You know what I mean?
No,
the scroll
but
became an icon.
It's a method for trying to condense as much knowledge as possible into a single moment. But something like this compared to like the first time I saw Dune, I felt like Dune was too heavy to digest. Like
the new Dune?
Yeah. Especially the first one. Like I felt like it was so heavy to digest,
for
you know?
For sure. Okay. Fair. 7.8. 8. Okay.
How do you feel about that?
Okay. Like,
7.8.
that's fair.
I think
7.8, 8.1, 8.5.
I don't know. I guess I'm being a little bit more generous because it came out in 77. You guys are being a little bit more critical.
Carlos, can you hit us with your rating and then explain why?
Oh, that's true.
I didn't even like the effects don't even affect me. I'm thinking more of the story when I give my rating.
Yeah.
Okay, as a single,
Give us your rating first, and then go in your explanation.
Yeah, I'm
6.8.
Nah, dude, you can't go that low.
No, you know what? Because it has a little more merit than like.
It follows all
has a little
there.
more merit than Jurassic Park, I think. Like in what I talked about, and I think I gave Jurassic Park like a 6.9.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's for me, it's hard to give it more than that. I think I'm sitting at about a 6.9. You know, 6.95 if I gotta give it a little more merit than Jurassic Park. Story wise, it has characters. Star Wars does have characters. Jurassic Park didn't have characters.
AK, that's 2 thumbs down.
I'm just look, okay, that's where I'm at. About a 6.9. I have to preface this with this. Star Wars meant so much to me for a long time. Like, it really meant so much to me for a long time. I think and all of you kind of have a sense of this, when you grow up wanting to escape your world, shit like this allows you to escape your world. You know, so when you're a kid and you're growing up in a shitty house and a shitty situation, escapism is everything. And that's why I fell in love with cinema. You know?
Yep.
And I do think blockbusters hold a stake in cinema. I do think they do. But Star Wars has a very special place in my heart because of that. And it's always been part of my life in like certain key moments, you know, like Sandra and I, when we first started dating, connected heavily with Star Wars because I introduced her to it, and that's where the new films were coming out.
You got engaged at Star Wars.
Yeah, we'd go to premieres, we'd dress up. I would wear like a fucking Wookiee outfit. She would wear, you know, like we really went all out.
Really weird.
I got engaged in Galaxy's Edge and in Disneyland when it first opened up. You know, like I got engaged at Star Wars Land in Disneyland. And it's always, we built a lightsaber together, you know, like, so it's always been part of my life. And very importantly, I think Star Wars will always hold a place in my heart. I think when I have kids, I'm going to show them Star Wars. I'm going to tell them, you know, this is the thing. But I do think it's nostalgia more than anything. And that's okay. You know, watching, and this is the most pretentious statement you'll ever hear me say, watching good cinema has ruined stuff like Star Wars for me.
I mean, I'll get with
I think just watching great, amazing cinema that these filmmakers tried to emulate, like watching a Kurosawa film, dude, watching something like Dreams or watching something like Seven Samurai or Hidden Fortress, or watching, you know, just watching the hero's journey without all the bells and whistles, you know. When you watch The Hidden Fortress, or when you watch Yojimbo, when you watch Seven Samurai, it's just this story about a village and a single person, you know. Think of like Bug's Life, right? Bug's Life, Pixar's Bug's Life is based on Seven Samurai.
I love it.
And it's
Bug's
great. But again, it's ants and bugs and shit. It's not space and spaceships and, you know, all these bells and whistles to have to tell a story. And I think I'm appreciating cinema that can do that more. That can tell the hero's journey without all the bells and whistles and really humanize characters and really humanize situations. And I feel like I fall in love with that more. And I don't think Star Wars or Marvel or anything like that. I hate to agree with my hero because I agree with him partially and I partially don't agree with him. I do think Star Wars and Marvel is cinema, but I think it has its own little block in cinema. It has its own little stake. I don't think it's completely cinema. I do think that the amusement park factor exists in popcorn flicks and blockbusters. I think it's meant to do what cinema does best, to let your escapism breathe. But is it telling this life-changing story that as a human being, I'm gonna try my best to, I think good cinema is like life. I think life, our jobs as human beings is we're gonna try to explore life and figure out what the fuck the point is. Mm-hmm. I think good cinema forces you in a state of mind that's like, damn man, what was that about? As a human being, am I thinking about that? Am I reflecting on life enough to figure out what this thing is? What is this saying? I don't think past the escapism, Star Wars has anything to say. I just don't think it does. But you know what?
I think that's more of a commentary on like the month that we've been talking about. Because
Right.
I feel like every blockbuster that we've seen, I place it more on iconic cinema than I would on great cinema.
I place it more in pop culture.
Iconic.
Yeah, pop culture cinema.
Yeah,
Because it just depends on how you define iconic. That's what I mean by it.
Well, all I'm saying is that all of them have been hitting around this range.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Star Wars, Jaws, all of them have been hitting around this maybe like mid, kind of 7-ish, you know, even like 6-ish kind of range. Yeah. But it's just because I think at the end of the day, you know, with the blockbuster, you know, the main intention is to give a story that's going to entice people to want to go and see it. It's meant to be flashy. It's meant to be a lot of bells and whistles.
I don't know if I'm using this example correctly, but to your point, because I'm trying to see it like cinema's this big tree, right, with branches, and I think iconic cinema, as you're defining it, I agree with you, but I think iconic cinema is the branches outside. I think amazing cinema is when you cut the tree and you see how many rings it has inside of it to learn more about the tree.
Yeah,
you know, I think the surface level cinema is iconic for the mass audiences. I think people are really going to connect with that, but it's going to be hard to get deeper into the roots and figure out why this tree exists to begin with. So I do think it's a surface level branch. Yeah. And what happens with branches? If they're not strong enough, you can flake them off very easily.
Oh, man, all these metaphors, man, you're killing it today.
I just think that's how I view cinema like this. And it is a commentary on the month that we're talking about. I do think OG blockbusters.
It's a cap on that. Yeah. It's a cap on Star Wars, like Jurassic Park, like Jaws.
Very little of these
Indiana
films. You
Jones.
talked about Ghostbusters. You talked about Uncharted. All these modern ones even.
Yeah.
They have nothing to say past, let's give the people a good time.
No, and that's what it is. It's not trying to reinvent any wheels.
Yeah, it's not.
I feel like all of them,
not getting
at that. Sure, they like Spielberg was trying to make these bigger mechanical things that would feel more lifelike and what is it called, like in Jurassic Park and all that. But really, it just became like. Again, like you mentioned, escapism. It's meant to be something that when you go to the theaters, at the end of the day, you want everybody to leave having had fun. And it's funny because when we talk about great cinema and exploring like life and purpose, some of the ones that we rank the highest, it's not at the end of the day a fun experience.
No,
like when we talk about the biggest one was
I like In the Mood for Love.
No, I was gonna say that's all, folks.
All that jazz.
All that jazz. When we talk about all that jazz like hits heavy, and it's
for
it's,
artists,
it's
especially.
but it's like it's hard to digest.
Yeah.
It has a lot to say. It's not meant to be this super like passive, easy thing that everybody's gonna look at and be like, oh, that's great. They even have that whole scene where people are dancing very erotically, but then that kind of says something too about like the industry and what they're asking for and what they're pushing for in art and cinema.
I think if we compare it to another medium like theater, right?
Yeah.
I think blockbuster films is vaudeville, and some of these deeper films are To Kill a Mockingbird on the stage.
I
or,
think
you know what I mean?
I think you guys are being very subjective.
Well, of course, all of art is subjective.
I don't think there's a bigger branch or a bigger root. I think they all have their own little small sections. Like you,
I
like,
agree. That's what I just said.
No, but you were just kind of like minimizing, like, oh well, Star Wars is just a little portion of this branch. That's for you. Because touching a little bit about escapism, it's that spark in the brain of that kid of like. Not the escapism of like, oh, okay, I'm in a different planet. I could be, Star Trooper or whatever. It goes beyond that. It goes like you said, whatever, all that jazz, right? That made you think. It's deep in thought.
Yeah.
How do you know for a kid that wasn't also the same thing?
No, I agree. Listen, but look at what you're comparing, right? You're comparing
For him, maybe that story.
That's what I'm saying.
You're deep for him.
You're comparing age, right? A kid can only process so much.
I'm just saying a kid, maybe an adult as well.
Yeah. Well, no, but I do think that's a good example. I think that as a kid, this was the best thing I ever saw in my life. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. I agree with you. It's that
But I know
spark.
where you're going with it. The older you grow, your palate gets a little bit
Well,
better. I know
not just
that's
your
what you
palate, but you grow as a human. You experience heartbreak. You experience loneliness. You experience depression. You experience all these things that you're trying to make sense out of.
Right.
And cinema that layers itself in that way will make you feel like you're not alone. As opposed to cinema, like it makes you feel like, oh shit, like I can explore this through a medium.
Like,
where as a kid, the only thing you're thinking about is like, oh shit, like inspiration and what is this thing doing? What is this thing?
But why not an adult?
I don't think a film like Star Wars is going to do that to an adult
For
necessarily.
you, but what do you mean?
I don't think
That's
so.
all The Martian. That's all he's all inspired by this type of film. Because they find a deeper root to it. They're like, oh wow, life out there, whatever. This different.
What I'll say is
To them, it's the deeper meaning. Whereas with you, you're a little bit more concrete, more based, on the love story, whatever the hell.
Did you?
Okay,
Well,
hold on. Don't lose the point. Don't lose the point. I'll argue this. Something like 2001: A Space Odyssey, right? Because you brought up The Martian. Something like 2001: A Space Odyssey, which Star Wars emulated, right? It was heavily inspired by 2001: A Space Odyssey. 2001: A Space Odyssey has so much to say about the human condition and life and what's out there and what's past this human experience.
Right.
And do we circle back around? I mean, it has so much to say.
But you don't like it.
I didn't like it. No, I told you I didn't like it. I've grown to appreciate 2001: A Space Odyssey because of what it has to say. But I did it. When I first saw 2001, I didn't know what the fuck it was.
But you were thinking it was just another...
No, I just thought it was overrated. And then I started thinking about it, and I started watching it so many times to get what
Same
the fuck's
thing with the Star Wars and the universe.
I don't think
Probably
so.
not this one as a standalone, but
I'm comparing them because they both take place in space. They're grandiose. They're bigger than life.
but you're saying that it doesn't go past that.
I don't think Star Wars has a fraction to say what 2001: A Space Odyssey has to say.
Oh no! But I'm saying it in different areas
Of like life.
No, it just in the way people take it.
Well, yeah. Again, subjectivity is always going to be a factor in cinema and any art. But I do think that Star Wars is more palatable for someone who doesn't care about exploring that as much through cinema
Compared to
or even a kid. I like using the kid comparison because as a kid you can watch Star Wars and it might mean the world to you, but it's not going to mean the world to you because of how you see life. It's going to mean the world to you because of how it takes you out of life. I think other cinema is going to become, the more you live life, the more you experience the human experience, the human condition, it's going to say more about what you're experiencing and relating to it. And I do think it just depends on what stage of life you might be at. And that doesn't necessarily have to do with age. Hold on. Because you had a point.
Yeah, my bad.
Appreciate it. I was going to just say that, like, when you look at films like these blockbusters, you have fun with.
Yeah.
But do they linger with you the way certain movies do? I feel like this one it's like a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
Like you're going through it, you're seeing a lot of very interesting visuals, and as a young person, as an older person, you have fun with it. I mean, it's meant to be a thing for the whole family. You know, it doesn't matter what age you are when you watch it.
From the outside, from just the outside perspective.
Yeah.
But then you go deeper.
Yeah. No, well, that's important to note. What you're
hold on,
saying is important to note about what something like this creates. Don't get me wrong, dude. I've seen families that their whole life revolves around Star Wars, right?
Exactly.
It's a generational thing. I can show my kids, and it feels amazing that there's a new Star Wars film coming out, so we can share in this together. I'm not saying it means it should mean any less to anybody.
But you're not saying it's not heavy in the
bottom
subject,
line,
and
I'm saying for my point, and I like what the Lao's saying, just to bring in those dynamics of like, hey, this thing can be for anybody and could be for everybody.
Yeah.
But my point is that though I agree wholeheartedly, I think it's a surface level thing when it comes to art and cinema. I think it's layer one of the hundreds, millions of layers in cinema. And to that point, I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's I know more than you think. I think it's just something that if you care about this art form and this medium, you're at level one with Star Wars.
Oh, that's a little harsh.
There's a whole universe inside level one. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a whole world inside level one that you can explore. Are you going to scratch the surface? Are you going to go past scratching the surface of what cinema can say about life? No. I think you're barely scratching the surface at Star Wars, Jurassic Park, any blockbuster.
And
So Star Wars doesn't kind of like relate to life. You can't, metaphorically, you can't kind of mesh it in.
The only way that it kind of relates to life is that it's following this
Very
dynamic
barely.
of the hero's journey. But
Yes.
the hero's journey,
Yes.
that is a model that's been like basically.
No. I don't want you guys to be like.
No.
I get it.
I'm just saying that was something that like this story. The reason people like it so much, and the reason like the hero's journey. It makes a film more enticing, or any story more enticing.
Chew, dude. It's just easy to digest.
The way that we process our own lives. That's what I've heard. A lot of people say that the way we process our own lives is that I was going through this moment in time where, like, let's say if I'm trying to build a shelf, that I needed to put stuff and I need to store things in a good way.
Yeah.
I bought this shelf. I tried to put it together. The pieces weren't fitting.
Yeah.
But then I reread the instructions. I saw a new way to build it. Built the shelf correctly.
I like that.
And then at the very end, I have a new shelf and I'm organized, and then I'm back to square one.
I like that. Hold on.
I think you guys are just looking at this.
Wait.
No.
No. That's
That's how-
why. That's why. I like that. This is the story of the shelf, right? Cinema that has made me melt in ways that I can't even explain tells me that the reason that the shelf was needed was because my mother died and I needed to find a way to store all of the mementos that we shared together.
Okay.
We're going deeper into why the shelf is important. Not just, I built a shelf, I stubbed my toe, the end. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the shelf is needed because I have to clear my dad's garage after he passed away, and we used to build cars inside that garage together, and he left little key moments for me, and I need to figure out what all of these things mean. Not for us, but for me as a man moving forward. Whatever. These layers that now the shelf has become the central theme, the structure, but what's the point? What am I putting on the shelf? You know, I think that blockbuster cinema or anything that's really super level one palatable cinema.
It's just something that's easy to process because you can see it in your own life. You could watch Star Wars and get the same out of it as you would, and I know this is going to sound very diminishing, but like the new Godzilla movie. Like you can, the exact same amount of like connection you could put to like, there's a character. Oh, they went through a struggle.
Yeah.
Now they need to change their strategy. They changed it, beat the villain. They're better. And then that's what it is.
Like even like a kid's movie, you know, like I will get the same feelings I get out of watching Star Wars than I do out of watching
Toy Story.
Yeah, Toy Story. And again, they're both great stories. But you know what? I think Toy Story might have a little more to say.
Do you feel like we're not giving it credit for the legacy it created?
No, not at all.
What I guess is the part where you feel like we're differing on?
I'm trying to word it right. I feel like you guys, obviously, story is a big deal, but I guess that's where you guys stop.
No. Okay. I know where you're going. And you're not wrong, but it's not that we stop there. I think this is what happens. I think something like the hero's journey, something like Star Wars.
Yeah, it gets boring. It gets
No.
repetitive.
Forget about that. It's how we've been conditioned our whole lives on how stories work. As kids, in fairy tales, in books, in kids movies.
Every
right?
story.
Every story is the same. And then I'm not saying it gets boring or repetitive. It does. That's not what I'm saying though. What I'm saying is that after a while, you start realizing, well, there has to be a better way, a deeper way to tell stories. That's not just
And
on the
that's
surface.
where you guys come in, right? You guys want something different, something totally different.
We want something deeper.
Deeper. This could be deep.
How?
What do you mean? Wow.
No, like give
For
us
any-
Whatever's on the screen.
When I was a kid and I
Wait.
haven't even seen this, my
Yeah.
imagination went crazy.
So imagination. Let's go with imagination.
Yeah, the whole escapism and everything.
Okay.
But it wasn't just about the story.
Okay.
It was like, dude, I could take any route with this story. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And they did, right? I mean, that's why there's 10 movies and shows and whatever, right?
checkmate.
I don't know.
Damn.
I don't think
What a fucking power move.
Any
Oh my
Star
God.
Wars movie, dude. I don't think any Star Wars movie the only one that I kind of feel starting to have a little bit more sense of respect for storytelling is like The Mandalorian. Right? It's this individual who his culture is to be by himself and he lives by a code.
love that.
And then he discovers a fucking kid that he's gonna choose to defend and protect. That's not part of his own clan. That you know what I mean? That breaks his ethics. It breaks
Also,
his
the
code.
cutest kid in
Yeah, it is.
in history.
but that's also this, right?
No, it's fucking not.
What do you
no,
mean? Go to
absolutely
adventure.
not.
He just found a
Oh,
kid.
man.
The kid
Who
found a
just found a-
mentor. There's the threshold. I got the kid.
I don't think any Star Wars film has anything to say other than what it's showing you on the screen. I don't think it does. I think it's cool.
Trying to figure-
I think the
Damn it,
definition
man.
is, oh, that's cool.
No.
Oh, man, that was like, oh,
It's
that's
just-
fun. But does
go-
it have anything to say past what's on the screen? No.
I think it's just
Exploration. All
I
this
think
stuff.
there's a lot of fun to be had
Yeah.
in thinking about the world.
That's where I'm at, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's where I'm
yeah,
at.
like
It's a lot of fun to be had.
no, and that's it's not to be diminished because I think that the fact that they made something that could explode,
Oh.
it's super impressive. Like take it this way. I am willing to look at this story and wonder all the ways it could expand more than I'm willing to look at something like My Dinner with Andre and think about what's outside of that diner.
No, but you know what? I think it's a spark for imagination.
Yeah.
I think it's a spark for imagination.
And that to me it carries the same weight as a deep,
It might.
whatever you guys want.
Without us experiencing something like Star Wars, we might not have ever tried to explore other stories, right? It's very possible.
But I'm not talking about what it did for other ones. I'm talking
no.
about,
I mean for us,
Yeah, exactly.
As a human being, like,
Exactly.
oh man, the world that this creates, that means there's more than I get that.
Yeah,
That's totally
exactly.
cool.
And
on the
that's-
imagination front, but I think that's the only thing it's doing. And then don't get me wrong, and it holds
No,
a
I
lot
feel
of
what
weight.
you guys are saying as well.
It holds
I just-
a lot of weight. It holds a lot of weight that when you're a kid, or like let's say I'm a 30-year-old guy who has never seen Star Wars in his life, and then I watch Star Wars and I'm like, holy shit, that was amazing, and that opens up my imagination. That's cool. Right now on the 1977 version that we just screened, I was telling it like everybody here, I wanted to re-fall in love with Star Wars to do this one. I really wanted to. I was like looking forward to like, man, like, am I missing something? Like, did I? And I just felt so like, as a director, as a fan, I was like, okay, I remember everything. I'm okay, cool. Like that's fine, cool. As a storyteller, I felt embarrassed for George Lucas. I felt so
Even for
embarrassed for
77?
him. Yes, dude, because he didn't grow as a storyteller. First
And I
of all,
know, way before 77, there was way more.
he got more
just like that, but-
resources. That's not growing as a storyteller. He didn't grow as a storyteller. I just felt really embarrassed for him because it wasn't about the effects and what looks bad in CGI. For me, dude, there was cuts that were unwarranted. There was shooting Chewbacca from a low angle so that he seemed scary for this one specific thing, the Chewbacca slap thing. Like, I just felt embarrassed for him a lot of the time.
That's too strong.
No,
bro. That's too
no,
strong,
man.
bro. That's
But
way too strong.
Why is it that like something that like the Before series,
Right.
watching two people just talking,
Walk and talk.
and walking around,
Another section of that tree?
That tree.
For you, it's a whole trunk. I
but
get it.
Yeah.
okay, I
That's the
think I'm starting to see
subjectivity.
the difference. Wait, I think you're looking at it like those kind of movies and these kind of movies are just genre differences.
No. Well, I guess in a way.
Yeah, because you're saying like, oh, that's a type of movie that appeals to a type of audience. Star Wars is a type of
and
But
whatever.
I think what we're arguing is, and what we're justifying it with is the rating system. When you have to look at those two and think which storyteller is taking the medium of cinema and doing something that's going to spark conversation and thought and idea on a personal level, not an external level, just on a very personal level, something that'll change your individual life compared to something that will grow on its own and it'll be fun to see. But I have not been changed as a person watching it.
And don't get me wrong. What's the guy who took over Star Wars? David something.
Kinda followed you.
Like the
Kinda
guy, the
followed
new
you.
dude, the guy that's in charge of Star Wars right now.
David O. Russell.
No, I forget his name, but he's
David
like the
Soderbergh.
president of Lucasfilm right now or whatever. This dude sees Star Wars the way you see Star Wars. He when he was first immersed into this world, was like, whoa, what the fuck? And then became a filmmaker, a storyteller, a writer. Dave Filoni, man, is now in charge of Star Wars, and he was the biggest fan in the world.
Shit.
And this dude was like, you could ask this dude any question on anything canon Star Wars, and he knows the answer like that. And now he's running it. This guy saw Star Wars as bigger than life, as story, as the allegorical function of this, that, and the third. That's his world. That's his trunk, right? I respect that wholeheartedly. George Lucas,
And exactly, you said that's his trunk.
Yeah.
Whereas your trunk is
right? George
Departed.
Lucas, well, again, has cemented himself as a figure, not just an iconicism for pop culture. George Lucas has earned his right next to guys like Stan Lee in pop culture, right? Cool, absolutely.
Stan Lee. Damn.
Well, of course, right?
Yeah. But yeah.
In cinema, I respect George Lucas for his contribution to cinema via the technological aspects that he contributed to, and to a sense the world building.
So what are you getting to?
What I'm getting to is that in the world of cinema, as a cinephile, as a fellow storyteller, I don't think past these technological advancements, George Lucas has earned his place as one of the best storytellers in the world. I don't think so.
No. I'm just saying about this one.
So if we're going to compare a storyteller like George Lucas for his contributions to cinema versus a storyteller like Stanley Kubrick or George Lucas or Richard Linklater or even Spielberg, right? So we talked about Steven Spielberg has offered contributions to cinema that you're going to sit there and be like, I need a minute. I need to see what the fuck just happened. How does this apply to my life?
To you.
I don't think George Lucas has done that in cinema.
You just named the guy was running it right now.
Dave Filoni, right?
For him, that was his world. That he
Yeah.
saw that this is telling me something. This is teaching me something.
Yeah.
Just like you're saying about other films.
I think guys like George Lucas have earned their right in cinema as storytellers for how palatable they can make something for the mass audience.
well, okay, I think we're getting a little. We're not talking about George Lucas. We're talking about this film.
Okay.
Well, we have
Yeah.
to talk about George Lucas.
Yeah,
if
but
we're
you're
gonna
talking to
talk
him
about
like
this film.
in his whole career.
I just think-
like he just didn't evolve. No, I'm not.
I'm
saying
trying
about
to
anything. I'm saying
expand.
about this film.
I'm trying to expand the sentiment so that you can see kind of our argument, right? So you could see that.
The contribution side of it,
No, yeah, the contribution side because of how layered a story can be.
for sure. That's what I'm saying. That's where
I
you
don't-
guys are at.
I don't think Star Wars is layered other than.
For you,
I don't think Star Wars is in general. I don't think Star Wars is layered any more than one of those World of Warcraft. You know what I mean? What you
damn.
can do in storytelling for World of Warcraft and how invested you can become in that world and the characters you develop and who you become. I think that's what Star Wars is. I don't think it can be layered. I don't think it's as layered as something like,
I'll give it the credit of saying that I think Star Wars, especially like this one,
Yeah.
and looking at the franchise, not everybody is able to make a franchise, and that's what I was saying earlier
Yeah.
with like the guy, DC director guy,
Snyder.
Zack Snyder.
He was trying to make this
The
moon.
Snyderverse, this DC
No, but like
universe.
this moon, like new moon series.
Oh, right.
And again, he listed as part one and stuff like that. There is an art form in making something that people are curious and invested in, and I can
Curiosity.
see the again. I can applaud Star Wars for again he made something that you wanted to explore the world, and it felt real.
Yeah.
It felt authentic.
Absolutely.
It felt
Beautiful.
creative.
I can applaud
You can
George
go deeper and
Lucas
deeper
and
and
the
deeper.
Star Wars universe for its
Ability
ability
to
to
create
its
world.
ability to create a world that you want to immerse yourself.
And while
Yeah.
you're doing
And
that,
then
you
I'll
need
tell
a
you this,
story in
dude.
there. You need a story in there.
I'm a big Disney fan. When I go to Disneyland and going to Galaxy's Edge and living physically 3D in that world is fucking amazing. It is. It's great.
Yeah, and no, there's very few
Yeah.
franchises that can jump in and
Yeah.
do that. I mean,
For
the,
sure.
the only other one I think that really has been able to do that well is like the Marvel franchise, where there was so much story set to
There's a
make
lot,
these.
man. Avatar, Lord of the Rings. There's world
Yeah.
builders that are masters at doing this.
And again,
absolutely.
those ones, credit where credit's due. They
Yeah.
were able to make something that off the get go, you wanted to get invested in their world, because there's other
me
fantasy
ask-
But
shows.
you're
Let me
saying,
ask
but
you a
hold
question.
on, but hold on. Finishing off that,
There's
that's not cinema. That's not. What are you guys calling it?
I think we're saying that it-
Iconic cinema, but what
there's
is
a
it?
place at the table. There's
Yes.
we've always had this idea of
But a small place compared to you guys is big place with the.
no. We're saying
No.
that there's a place at the table.
No. There's
100
wait,
films to watch. 100 films to watch
This
for
is what
you.
it is. This is what it is.
Sorry,
because,
okay, sorry.
because of its subjectivity, this is what it is. There's a place at a table for the Star Wars, the Marvels, these. There's a place at the table,
Right.
Just like there's a place at the table for the Linklaters and the Scorseses, right?
I was going to say the
The
Pantheon.
subjectivity is where do I want to sit next to in the table? Who do I want to sit next to? I don't want to sit next to George
Subjective.
Lucas. I want to sit
Subjective,
next to
yeah.
Linklater,
Yeah.
and because I
his
think
stories-
because
but
because I
stories
think
are more
these guys have
layered.
more to. I think these guys have more to say. I think these
For
guys
sure,
have more to
and
say about
probably they
life.
Probably they do. But I'm just saying, for something that has an imagination, which a
Yeah.
kid always has, but adults
Yeah.
also do.
I have a question for you.
The Star Wars, you can take it from
Yeah,
a
yeah.
family standpoint.
I have a
can
question
take
for
it
you.
from-
I have a question for you though. Just to pinpoint that a little bit better. Something like Star Wars, right? Let's just take the first Star Wars.
Yeah.
This one.
This one.
Versus something like Avatar. A visual spectacle, a world building aspect. I think when it comes to a commentary about life and society and people, Avatar has more to say.
Okay.
Both are beautiful. Both are world building. Both are technological advances towards cinema. I think in its messaging, I think Avatar has something better to say. And that's my point. I'm not knocking the technological advancements, the world building, the escapism, the curiosity, the imagination of Star Wars.
Now I'm not trying to I'm trying
Yeah.
to get beyond the escapism because I know that's how I'm kind of reiterating, but
No. But I do think to that point, that's all it has going for it.
no, and that's where
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out the right words.
No, well, anyway.
I can fight for your side.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I feel like the thing that Star Wars has, and that's what I was trying to mention earlier, the ability to grow beyond itself, to have
Yeah.
this
And you can't do that without a story.
Yeah.
The legacy that it's able to have.
Strong enough.
Not everybody's able to do that,
Yeah.
and so many
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
are trying. I mean, there was a film that came out a while back. I don't know why it popped into my head. Do you remember R.I.P.D. with
Jeff
Bridges
Bridges.
and
there
Ryan
was
Reynolds?
also a sequel too.
Yeah.
Was there a sequel?
Yeah.
I don't know. There was a
And the
sequel.
thing is,
The lady comes out. Some lady comes out.
I don't know if it's R.I.P.D. or if that's the Men in Black franchise, because I remember there was one where the Men in Black come out and there's a girl and it was
Oh, that was after Will Smith left.
Yeah.
yeah. But with those films like R.I.P.D. when it came out, I guarantee you, because it was meant to be a blockbuster, it comes out at the right time.
Yeah.
They were like, we really hope that people love one of these two characters
Yeah.
enough where we can keep making films
Yeah.
and we can make it into a whole world
Yeah.
and we can do the trilogies and do more. And I mean, you watch those once and you're like, that was fun for 5 minutes and now I want to leave.
Yeah.
And then, there's some that get a little bit further. Like, look at the Transformers series. Like, that one made one and then made 15 more. But then after
Fast
a while,
and
it's like,
Furious.
yeah,
Look,
Fast and the Furious.
The best place I can compare it to.
I'm kind of trying to see where you're going with
The
this.
best place I'm trying to that point is I constantly on this podcast feel like I'm telling kids that there's no Santa Claus. Okay, and to that point.
Hold on, there's no Santa Claus.
Shit.
back up a
Now I
little
gotta
bit.
have
What?
two disappointing conversations. I'm
But the
constantly.
tooth fairy's real, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay,
constantly feeling like I'm telling people, including you guys, sometimes that there's no Santa Claus.
Okay.
But the minute a kid in my kind of cinematic space, the minute a kid realizes that as much as I love Christmas to me in my personal telling, is my favorite holiday. I love the magic it brings. I love how it makes me feel. I love the lights and the color and the, you know, I love Christmas. But if I live in Christmas forever, I won't appreciate life outside of Christmas.
Whoa,
So me telling my kid, like, hey, man, Christmas is amazing, but you're not going to live for Santa Claus. Just because there is no Santa Claus doesn't mean you can't enjoy the other holidays and get deeper into life and explore that side of things. That's constantly the struggle I'm having with that kind of aspect. I think Christmas, dude, if you really get deep into people who are like fucking cynics, Christmas is a holiday to sell shit.
Yeah.
Christmas was invented by corporations to sell shit, right?
Every holiday.
That's what blockbuster cinema is.
I think we're all saying the same thing. No, genuinely.
Yeah.
I think we're all saying the same thing. We're just not feeling like it's coming across the same because we understand that there is something magical and special about Star Wars. Absolutely. And the fact that that world was special enough then to make us still believe in it now and still want more of it now.
Right.
Question things, like question things,
exactly,
whatever, right?
And
Universe-wise or
the
script-wise,
questions are, what next?
Yeah,
right. Those are the questions. I think we all have like, what's next? What more happened here? And that's why Star Wars.
I feel like you're setting up a trap, and I see it coming.
I'm not.
No, and I see it coming.
It's also hard to do. It's really hard to do.
No, what I'm saying
imagine creating an intellectual property. Imagine creating an intellectual property that's going to survive 40 plus years, and you're still going to ask what's next, because that's what's holding together like Disney Plus. Most people are bitching about the new series. Most people are bitching about where Star Wars is heading and where it's been heading for a few years. But you're still believing in Santa Claus. You're still believing in Star Wars.
No, and that's what I'm trying to get to. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
Because we're all saying the same thing. No, that's what I'm saying. There's something that was created that's giving us that same feeling of what's next, even now, where we'll still invest emotion and energy into this product. That I think we all agree there. We all agree that that's it.
Wait. No. Don't leave that point yet, sir.
Wait.
Wait. Don't leave that point yet.
But you're about to.
No, I'm not going to.
He's gonna forget.
To this point. Who here is still invested in the Star Wars universe?
Why are you still getting,
now I am.
Why do people still get mad when a new show comes out and it's affecting what's canon? Because at a core level, you still cared about what was essential.
But the problem is when you stop caring, like I have, because I stopped watching 3 series ago.
But look at how long it went on. I mean, that's where credit's due, right? The fact that like we all, especially up to like the new trilogy, deeply invested in, and old fans coming into the new trilogy, deeply invested in, and sure, it's a double-edged sword because as new canon events are happening, you're both either enjoying them or you're upset because you're attached to this baby, and it all sparked from this.
It's funny. It's like checking in on an old friend for me right now, right? Because it's like Austin was my go-to guy to like, hey, dude, I stopped watching because I stopped caring. What's going on? You know, like, is it cool? Are they okay? And he'd be like, no, they're not. Okay.
All right, and I'll reinvest it.
And that's what I'm trying to say. I think all of us have had an emotional attachment into the franchise.
Absolutely.
And that is impressive.
And it's hard. It is hard. It's hard to do that.
I thought you were going to go into like the whole Transformers doing the same thing. No.
Because
it's hard to do.
Like I
said,
to do. Yeah, very few
I want to keep. I'm going to check in on this friend till I'm old and gray.
Yeah,
right.
Because if a new Star Wars movie comes out in theater, like the new trilogy, and all
you're
that,
going to want to know the consensus.
I'm still going to want to go.
That's not just blockbuster. That's cinema.
Okay, wait.
Your definition is weird, but it still falls there.
No, wait.
Come on!
Now here's the next point. Okay,
I need you to write down.
Just hear me out. Hear me out. Because now I want to
look at everything.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Chapter 1. Chapter 1. We finished chapter 1. We love Star Wars. I'll kiss it goodnight.
Boom.
Okay, that was chapter 1.
Yeah.
Chapter 2 is I need you to understand what you're saying with your rating, not for Star Wars, for every film we've rated. What we're saying with that rating is that,
let's take a step further. For every film you've seen,
for
every film you've seen.
Okay, but what I'm trying to get to with that, we've all written a contract unwillingly.
Unwillingly.
I took philosophy. I'm sorry. We've all written a contract unwillingly that says, though cinema is subjective and my views are subjective, there is an objective truth to good and bad cinema.
Wow.
Yeah.
There is?
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
Who has a right?
You've
Hold on,
put a
hold
rating.
on,
That's
hold
what I'm
on.
saying. You've put a rating on a film every time.
Okay.
And we can't say a rating is just like mumbo jumbo. We're deciding in ourselves every time this one was better, but
Look,
it's not
you
the
can,
best.
You
and
can
it's
count.
kind of
You
worse.
can count. You can count. You can count you'll count how many stars there are on the sky. You'll count how many clouds there are,
I've
and
tried
Austin will count how many fucking planes are flying by.
You
but
count that?
But at the end of the fucking day, the sky is blue, right? At the end of the day, we're all going to agree that the sky is blue.
What are we talking about?
No. That's what I'm trying to get to because you're
The
arguing with.
objectivity, you do have to have an objective to say, hey, look, dude, even with cinema, most people will agree that The Room sucks, right?
Yeah.
Most people will agree that Mono Sands of Faith is the worst film in the world.
Yeah.
But
There's an objective point there that most people are agreeing on.
So-
and by the way, people are on your side in this argument. Most people, the masses, disagree with us or with me. People in the masses agree that Star Wars is an amazing franchise that has lived on, that is going to stand the test of time, they're invested in the this, that, and the third.
and
Most
that's
people are going to
why-
agree with you.
And that's why I'm trying to get to this idea of we have to determine what objectively is this better or
Yeah,
worse
objective.
than what's been
Right.
done before, what's been done after it. And that line, us saying our rating, saying like, this is like, a 7.8 or this is like 8.5, 8.2, like those numbers mean that we're seeing something definable that makes it better and worse.
Okay.
And I think
We're not
we
all
need
far
to-
off on these ratings.
Yeah, and we need to. What we're trying to describe is the part that's making it worse compared to like, oh no, Star Wars was legendary. Look at how it lived on. Is the fact that when we watch other movies that sit by themselves, they are more impactful than Star Wars will ever be.
Damn, dude.
And that's the truth of it.
But nobody, here's the theory. Here's kind of the point of this podcast,
Okay,
right?
okay, yeah.
For most of us.
Is cinema sucks, and we should move on.
We should move on the books. We're going to start a book club. No, the
Bookcast.
point of this podcast for me, and this is what I love about this podcast, that each of us have our kind of
I
our
consider-
plan, right? Our desire to share the cinema we love with the world.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah.
That is going to mean something different for each of us. And that's what I
Exactly.
love about it.
Yeah.
But my argument is that there's cinema that people will forget, that will be buried, that
So-
nobody
so
will
you're just
give a
basing off
shit
of that?
about. Yes, absolutely.
This is unforgettable.
No. That's my point.
Bro,
Gus, is that
77?
there's cinema
2024?
that people will forget. That is amazing cinema, but because a company doesn't invest hundreds of millions of dollars in its advertising or in its resources, it will be forgotten. And that's my argument. That there's cinema out there
For sure.
that is
It's
inherent.
good enough to not have a big budget.
No, it's inherently better. That is inherently better. Look,
For sure, but I mean, don't say it like that. It's warranted, I guess.
Okay,
It's,
I want to make one last point.
yeah, my bad, guys. My
No,
bad.
no. It's
this is great.
Yeah.
Castro, give me a film worse than this movie. Any film.
Well, we already said The Room. Which one do I not like?
Compare it to something in its own genre. Like you guys were able to compare. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. You guys were able to compare 65 to Star Wars, to Jurassic Park.
Oh,
right?
did you see 65?
Okay, yeah, that one's pretty bad.
That was
No. The Will Smith with Jalen when they're.
Oh,
Oh.
After Earth.
Oh my.
Okay. So now that's bad, right?
Yeah.
Now give me something better than this movie.
Better than this movie?
Yeah.
Cable guy.
See? Now,
okay.
what I'm getting at, that means that there's something wrong. Like Cable Guy.
Whoa, you're wrong, bro.
No, it's just getting that like this film, it's good where it's at. Like
Yeah.
for the space, thriller, not even thriller, just space adventure. I mean, I think this is called a science fantasy. Like, it's not even a science fiction. It's fantasy because there's wizards in space.
Look, my argument to that is that there's guys. Look, you love basketball, right?
Action
And you know
adventure
that
fantasy.
LeBron is gonna live on to be known as one of the best basketball players to ever live because he's LeBron.
Right.
And sure, his skill is there, his merit is there, he's earned his stripes. But then there's gonna be the fucking Lithuanian basketball player that never got drafted into the NBA because he couldn't get a visa. You know what I'm saying? That was way better in skill to LeBron that never got to see the light of day in the NBA because of that.
All right.
Or even in the NBA. There's guys that are fucking amazing basketball players that don't get the credit
I see where
because
you're
they're
going.
not flashy LeBron.
I think at a certain
LeBron
but
stands the
but
test
gets
of
the job
time, right?
done,
But
right.
gets the job done.
I just feel like at a certain there's a certain
Or
point in time.
surpasses the job, surpasses the expectation.
There's a certain point in time where, like, sure, there's a subjectivity when it comes to maybe our personal interests. Like, I really like the sci-fi genre compared to some people that, you know, you might see a similar story in the sci-fi genre and not get behind it. But I'd like to think that I can also look at these films and see a thorough line of like, oh no, this for sure did not hit the marks when it comes to developing characters the way other films have done in their singular format, you know, or it didn't develop a world maybe as well, or maybe this one did. This one developed a world more, but did it develop it by showing it to you,
I
or did
wanna
it
go
develop it
back-
by
I guess
characters?
what I'm trying to say is everybody has a love or a nick or a to a certain type or, you know,
That's just
drama,
that,
thriller,
right. That's just
story,
subjectivity
plot.
to this.
Yeah,
I'm
but
going
Star
back
Wars
to
is
this.
objectively shit. Like, we can all agree.
I'm just saying that. Just going back to the point that I made on the Jurassic Park
Yeah, yeah.
episode. This month, the films that we've covered this month, this genre, the OG blockbuster, the blockbuster genre. Okay, the OG blockbuster genre. It's comfort food. I think it's
We've
comfort food.
talked about
I think Star Wars is comfort food.
Look,
And I don't think there's anything wrong with
I'm gonna
that.
say this is the last thing I'll say about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
We always give our ratings based on what the contribution to cinema
Yep.
plus what it did for us, right?
Yep.
I always kind of like mesh
yeah,
that
yeah,
in there.
for sure.
Come on. Give me you guys' take. Did this have contribution to cinema?
Technologically, yes.
Probably not the story wise, right? Not the hero's journey's probably been
Technologically,
overplayed.
yes.
But the escapism. no, I just think it did it had
I
You know
think
what?
contribution for
escapism
cinema.
is what it did for you.
For me, but in terms of
For cinema?
for cinema,
It
damn, I was
created
about to say
Spaceballs. We wouldn't, if this didn't exist, we wouldn't have Spaceballs.
We're gonna have Spaceballs, Transformers, all that.
Yeah.
That's the cinema you want to defend?
No, but I'm saying it did. No. But I'm saying that the
Spaceballs and
contribution to cinema
Transformers,
that we wouldn't have
boom.
special effects. We wouldn't have.
Look, I think all of the films that we covered this month
Oh, but
did something for the blockbuster
but this was the OG
genre.
But
'77.
that's what we're complaining about. If you look
It
at it,
invented a fucking monster,
no.
dude.
What we're also
That's
complaining
good.
is that
Yeah,
if
we
you look
should
at 2001: Space Odyssey, a lot of the special effects was based off of that. So the technology existed like 5 years prior,
even better.
but then this is using that.
Look, I think the argument, I'm not going to put
Did it
words
make
in
new
anybody's
ones?
mouth. I think the argument I've been making about the blockbusters is that they were important to cinema. They changed the game. Star Wars was the first film to ever cross the $500 million mark in cinema, period.
Yeah.
The only other film that sold more tickets than Star Wars is Gone with the Wind. That. It didn't make more money because tickets were cheaper back then.
Yeah.
That movie sold more tickets than Star Wars in its initial run.
You
You know what I'm saying?
I think you guys are just.
I think blockbusters
your palate.
blockbusters changed cinema. They did.
Y'all want
I
caviar. all
argue
the
that
time, bro.
blockbusters in today's society changed cinema for the worse.
for the worst.
Yes.
No, I just think it changed that little section.
No, because what people, unfortunately, dude, it's getting harder and harder to impress audiences because of films like this.
Yeah, but not people like you, right?
No, because what
you like.
impress-
the hardest to impress.
What impresses me is different, man.
Exactly.
It's so different. It's more introspective. You know, for me, it's introspective. For people like you, it's extrospective. It's not bad. It's not
Nah,
bad.
man, I know when somebody's talking shit to my face.
No, because I'm glad that there's still somebody who gives a shit about spectacle. Spectacle is massive. No, it is, dude. It is. It is.
which is
when
the-
spectacle's done right, it's massive.
That Key and Peele one.
The beauty of something like that is that when spectacle and introspective come together, fucking unbeatable film.
Yeah.
Right? Something like Avatar.
I really didn't like Avatar.
Oh dear God.
I know I didn't. It was just too much.
A lot of people didn't, but
What's next month?
just okay. Yeah, I guess we can all agree that there
Star
are.
Please, all my Star Wars fans, please just.
Oh, they're gonna come
comment
shit on me,
about
dude.
them.
They're gonna come shit on me.
His
both of
hat,
us.
his
No,
shirt,
because
anything.
you're defending both sides. You're on the
Try to
camp.
defend me, man. I just don't
Didn't I
think
have the second lowest rating?
Yes.
Damn, Star Wars. Damn,
Look, man.
146. My bad.
I'm being honest with you. I
had
think
fun.
I think to the point of this. I think like if we're fortunate enough to make another 1,000 episodes of the WatchTower Film Podcast, I think it's gonna feed more into the system of what we define as good cinema. So I think in 1,000 episodes, a Star Wars might get a 4.
I just think
You know what I'm saying? Because of how much good cinema has been consumed. And you can start basing yourself off like shit, man. Like the totem pole it now expands.
Let me ask you one question real quick.
Yeah.
How can I phrase this one? Is there any superhero film, any whatever type of film that you consider cinema?
Yes.
Ooh, which one?
Matt Reeves Batman.
Okay, which one?
Matt Reeves Batman. Oh, that's what he said.
The new one?
Yeah. I think that one oh my god.
That's a really good. Damn, you got me on that. Okay,
That
my bad.
one and
My bad. That is a good. Yeah, because that doesn't seem like a.
I think it
Doesn't seem like-
revamped the genre. I think
But that doesn't really fall into the blockbuster.
No, but you just said
Bingo.
superhero film. You just said superhero film, you know?
Okay, a blockbuster.
A blockbuster film that
Is cinema?
You're gonna see Jaws and shit like that, right?
No.
was
No, that's harder. I mean,
Avatar.
Yeah.
Avatar cinema, and it was intended to be a blockbuster.
Because it's just richer, a different story, different.
It's a very expansive world. There's so much to tell, but then that world they use.
It's saying so much more, dude. It's talking
Yeah.
about indigenous tribes and society and how we process that.
and
I mean,
manipulation
yeah.
and
And the
finding
world, yeah.
acceptance.
richer, I get it.
you know,
Yeah.
it's richer in context. It's richer in content. For me, yeah, Avatar for sure is up there, but a blockbuster that I would consider cinema. That's tough, man. That's tough for me. I'm having a hard time answering this
What about
question.
Avatar?
Well, I say I
Yeah, you
agreed
said,
with
but
you. I
he's
think
trying to think of
Avatar's
another
other, but
one.
I'm trying to think of another one.
So see, you kind of fall into a category.
What category?
For you cinema, yes.
Film snobs.
Yeah, for you
Go down?
cinema is.
Film dicks.
Film pretentious pieces of shit. No. Go to the
Crystal
opposite
Lake.
direction. Put it back.
Spider-Man.
Looking at blockbuster movies as defined by IMDb. Apparently, Inception is the first one.
Inception. See, I wouldn't call that a blockbuster.
Oh
I
man,
wouldn't either.
Yeah, I wouldn't call
Interstellar.
that. Neither. Doom for sure.
Go down. Go down.
Are Nolan films blockbusters?
Well, sure. I mean, they,
No.
Then
Which one?
I mean, I'd consider
Well, like all of the Batman ones for sure.
Oppenheimer.
Oh yeah.
Oppenheimer's a blockbuster.
On a technicality, yeah.
On the technicality,
How is that a
on the
blockbuster?
technical? It made a stupid amount of money,
That's all it counts.
dude. Remember,
That's all a blockbuster counts.
and it's made for mass audiences.
But I also
don't look at
think
it like that.
I also think a lot of people didn't find
'Cause
Oppenheimer
I
too
didn't-
palatable. Like they
Oh,
found
exactly.
it good, but it's not.
Exactly.
Oppenheimer made
We look whether you guys
975
like it or not. We can't ignore the fact that if a movie makes a heap amount of money, it's considered a blockbuster. That's one of the
that's
bases.
the original kind of like the blockbuster.
That's the
Ooh.
meaning, right?
Ooh.
To an extent,
Toy Story.
I consider Toy Story cinema, sure. Specifically, Toy Story 3.
Oh, I love that story.
And that's a blockbuster.
Yeah, sure.
Harry Potter.
That's a blockbuster for sure.
I don't know, man. It's hard. It's hard for the Venn diagram to come together.
See, it's all subjective.
Her? How is her a blockbuster?
No, I know.
It's hard for the Venn. No, it's hard for the Venn diagram to come together of like a popcorn flick, a moneymaker, and good cinema.
Ooh, Poor Things.
Made money.
No, but I don't think Poor Things was like a blockbuster. Even Arrival, I feel like a lot of those.
Yeah, this might not be the most accurate list.
Yeah, not
but
at all.
regardless, I do have a hard time calling most blockbusters cinema. There's maybe
What's-
a good 1% of
What's
blockbusters
like
that I would
the
consider
Webster
cinema.
Dictionary definition of blockbuster? Because that'll be our cap of the episode.
Let's see.
Definition.
Miriam.
Blockbuster as a noun, one that is very large, successful, or violent. Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's
This is very large and successful.
What a
That's
crap.
blockbuster.
Large and
That's
successful.
horrible.
No, go to any. I mean, that's
Very large and
and
successful.
again, in cinema's basis, that the only way to, as Dalal has said previously on this podcast, which is true.
Gooba gabba gabba gibba.
Yep, cinema was created to make money.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Okay, like we just
Right?
saw Inception. That's not a blockbuster.
it was very
It's
successful.
Yeah, but it has a good story, right? It doesn't have the hero's
I
journey.
think-
It's
No,
linear.
no. That's what I'm saying. That 1% is what exists. There's millions of movies out there, millions, right? In this 120.
So the ones that are the 1% is the only cinema.
I think so. I think that's a pretty good argument. Like if I did research and I wrote a thesis on this shit, I think 1% of blockbusters is good cinema.
You need to eat pizza, man. You're eating too much caviar, bro.
Gosh,
Get outta here.
it's like all novels are books, but not all books are novels.
Oh, let me wrap my head around that.
Yeah,
Doesn't that
explain that
just-
one. That's
Yeah, it's basically the same thing.
well, no.
No, yeah.
What do you mean?
All novels
The
are books, but
textbook
not,
isn't a novel.
Yeah, but
Okay,
novels
okay,
are
so
just.
The Hunger Games books, I wouldn't consider them novels.
Well,
oh, whoa.
They, of course, they're novels. By definition, it's a
yeah,
novel.
but,
but
I
like-
think you're trying to say like
Yeah.
they're not all literature.
Yes,
No,
literature.
oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. But no, the Hunger Games is a novel, just by definition.
I think I read the first one.
I read the first three. There's only three, maybe.
Yeah, there's
right?
only
Okay,
three.
I did read three.
Nerd.
I heard they're good. I've never seen them.
That's fine. Again,
Yeah.
I remember
Popcorn.
begging. Oh man,
But not Star Wars,
So
though.
here's what happened, right?
Come on,
Here's
Star
what
Wars,
happened.
come on.
well, Star Wars is better than the Hunger Games for
Okay.
sure.
So
Thank you.
what happened is that let me set the scene, right? The first Hunger Games trailer just came out, and I remember being so excited because I just finished the book, and I was like,
I remember
oh.
being so disappointed.
and then wanting to go watch the movie, right? And then I was telling my mom like, hey, can we go watch it? And then she was like, oh yeah, sure. And I was
take
like
off the
waiting
hat.
for her.
Gonna say the exact
I was like waiting for her, so I was riding my bike, and I wanted to go see it that week because it was right before I had to go back to school and like start my freshman year of high school. And I tripped. No, I didn't trip. I was riding my bike and trying to do that cool thing where like you put both feet on one side.
Ain't nothing cool about that.
Yeah, well, I snapped my arm. And after I did that, I remember being like, oh, this really hurts. And she's like, do you need to go to the doctor? I'm like, no.
Let's go watch the movie.
Let's go watch the movie. And then
I love you for that.
you know what's stupid is that after I watched it, I'm like, God, this really hurts. Like, I don't feel well. And then she's like, do you want to go? And I'm like, no, I forgot. Like, I also wanted to go buy an MP3 because I saved my money to go buy my first MP3.
Priorities, dog.
So then I did that. So I had an MP3. I just watched Hunger Games, and my arm's broken the whole time.
Sometimes it clicks, but
And then,
it's still good.
yeah, no, and then like,
Yeah, no, you
like
get it,
the
bro.
next day,
Not
then
bad.
she was like, "No, we got to take you to the doctor." And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's straight up just cracked." And then I remember like the next day, I started my freshman year of high school. Like it was
the cast
the
and
greatest
stuff.
sequence of events. But that's a blockbuster.
Hey, I took a girl to go see the last one that came out, like the third one, part 2, and got lucky afterwards. So you know,
Ooh, see,
that was a lucky day.
That's a blockbuster. These
what
movies
he did was a blockbuster.
are blockbusters. That's the definition I'm getting to. They make an impact in your personal life.
you either break your arm or
that
get
after
laid.
you-
in
You either
Blockbuster.
break your arm or
Film,
get laid.
you
I
go
think
back to your
that's
car.
the real definition. If you break your
I
arm
feel
or
like
get
this podcast is ending like a Larry David episode, like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
What do you mean?
Beautiful.
What
That's
the
beautiful.
fuck are we talking about? Okay.
What movies do to us after when we're in the
it's
car?
not straight anymore, you know. But I don't like to bring that up.
Clicks a little bit,
Just
but
don't look at my
You're
arm too
not
long.
straight anymore.
Any
Now,
final comments on Star Wars?
I like wieners.
I consider it cinema. These guys, I don't know what the hell they consider cinema.
I will always
You're
love Star
talking
Wars.
to all the
Curtis,
fans.
I have
will-
a question for you.
I will always love Star Wars. It will always hold. a
How
special
do you
place
feel
in my heart.
You'll
about-
love it just 6.9%.
Hey,
How do
hey.
you feel about your cult ruining Star Wars?
Oh,
I think
Colt.
I think by Star Wars becoming part of Disney, I think I'm straight up talking like a cult member, right? I think Disney's bigger than Star Wars.
but that's why Lucas wanted to partner, no? Oh, well, Lucas sold it. My bad.
Yeah, no, Lucas is not
No,
not
yeah,
involved
my
at
bad,
all.
my
Yeah,
bad.
but think about it. All the stuff that's coming out now
Yeah.
didn't come into conception until Disney bought it.
Yeah, but I don't think, if I'm being honest with you, I don't think it's Disney's fault as much as it is where the industry's heading's fault. I think what's ruining Star Wars is streaming. That's what I think is ruining Star Wars.
All the
I
shows
think
that
just
are coming
the mechanics of where the industry is right now. Oversaturation. Feed the system because everybody's binging and binge culture. I think that's what ruins Star Wars. Because even the new films, there was still room for arguments. There was still room for there's good and bad in the new trilogy. And they were years apart.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they brought in good storytellers. Ryan Johnson, and you know what I mean? Like, it brought in good storytellers. I think that by bringing in speed and building up on streaming services, I think that's what's ruining a lot of franchises.
Not ruined. I just think it's a little bit out of
I don't blame
out of whack
Disney.
right now.
I blame stream. I blame the industry. I blame where the industry is.
Fair. When's your next cult meeting? October?
December.
December.
Sick invite.
Book it, push.
Any rating changes?
No.
8.6 just to mess with these
Fuck
guys.
with these guys.
7.6
8.1.
You went up
down.
7.6 from a 7.8.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll hold it a 6.9. I think Star Wars, again, it will forever hold a special place in my heart. I will always look. We just booked our Disney trip for December, and in Florida where we're going, it's the only place you can go where Pandora is. The Avatar world.
Oh,
I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
you meant the jewelry store. I was going to be like, there's a Pandora
No,
at the
there's
mall.
everywhere. No, but
Isn't
I
that
was
with
just.
you? Or
No, it's been around for a little
okay.
while. But I was just telling Sandra, I was like, "Oh man, I'm excited for that. Like, I love that world. I love that. I like being in that world and breathing in the air and like the water and like I love it. I feel the same way when I go to like Star Wars land, at Disney. Like the immersion of these worlds is special. If that's why like people laugh at me, but I'm like, if I can watch a film in Dolby Atmos in my home theater or in any cinema, right? Like, oh fuck it, I'll take it. You should like when Avatar, the second Avatar came out, I like forced these guys like, yo, let's go watch it in that new Screen X.
Sick invite.
You were there,
No, I
weren't you?
wasn't.
Well, you're still basket casing around, huh?
Yeah, he
Yo.
was.
Yeah.
We live, baby.
We laugh, baby. I don't give a shit. But that 240, and again, a new way to see this type of cinema.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
immersion of these worlds. I'll buy into that. We haven't had a new Star Wars film in how many years?
Like 2015, 2016? And it's all
It's been
shows.
almost 10 years,
Oof. Really?
right? And there's a new trilogy announced and whatever. I will still revisit this world in that capacity. I just won't revisit it when I know they're trying to feed No Face, or what the fuck was the character's name?
Yeah, no face.
They're trying to feed No Face. No Face right now is the film industry and TV. I'm not going to participate in that because I know it's bad.
You know
Because you're
what?
just feeding the fucking monster so that the monster can grow bigger and bigger. I'm not with it.
I'm gonna shoot my rating up by 0.05.
Yes.
For
All the Star Wars
Porkins.
fans right now.
Porkins.
For poor Porkins, that I
He
don't know.
died in battle, bro.
I wanna talk to the casting director and the script.
Lucas.
Yeah, like why did you get this
You can't
poor-
start a conversation with him. Why?
this poor man? Just like this guy comes in. He's out of shape. He's
a little overweight, yeah.
breathing heavy.
Porkins.
And it's like, and you know what sucks about Porkins is the fact that like what the people he's up against, like red leader, like what are we doing? And it's like, okay, we're
Yo,
gonna move.
Porkins, cover me.
Yeah, red leader. I'm moving over here, and it's like blue leader, gold leader. Hey, Porkins.
I didn't notice that.
Watch your six, and then
He doesn't
the
even
worst
have
part
a-
is
Porkins.
when you look at
A
the
call sign?
sequence. When you look at the sequence,
No,
with
he
Porkins,
did, by the way. He did. He was like Red 11 or something like that. He did have a call sign, but
Yeah.
they still resorted to call this man Porkins.
And then the worst part is when you watch all the other like pilots, they're like, yeah, okay, I'm on him. Oh wait, I'm trying to dodge this one. I don't know. I'm gonna
And
get past
Porkins
it.
is almost eating a sandwich
No.
while he crashes.
Porkins looks so nervous. They're like, oh guys, and then it's like Porkins, pull up. I think I got it. It's
He was the first day on the job,
yeah,
bro.
and he's the first one to die.
By the way, those again are attributes that a director should be looking for, man. Like these are the moments that are like, why the fuck is this here?
Porkins.
77, bro.
Look at
Look at that, bro.
That Porkins.
Iconic, bro. How he became iconic, bro.
Porkins looks like a what is that? The Porkins looks like a Mandela effect. That it belonged in Spaceballs and they somehow went
Yeah.
back to the past
Yeah.
and fucked it up and put it in the original. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
my
Yeah.
god!
Okay.
I just don't know why this poor man. And it's
He's your average Joe. So he's for us, bro.
You're looking, especially like in that scene where they're looking at all the rebellion people who are ready to get in their ships, and they're like,
What is he
okay,
doing?
we need the best of the best on this. It's like red leader, gold leader, Porkins.
Get over here.
Porkins were a man short
Yeah, and
today.
then they sent Porkins first, and he died. Like poor Porkins. There's no.
0.65 or whatever up for Porkins.
Yeah. You know what? All my homies love Porkins.
I'm telling you, dog. He's an iconic dude. They used him in Family Guy.
All right, guys. Next week we're gonna be covering
Nothing but Porkins.
Nothing but Porkins and Porkies.
Deep dive into Porkins.
Comedy month. Comedy month. We're gonna talk about. Unfortunately, I do apologize. We'll have less episodes than we initially planned for Comedy Month
still working on
because
it.
of kind of how we got backed up.
Oh, he directed this?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Are
Ben
we
Stiller?
kicking off with this?
Yeah.
What are we ending with?
Semi-pro.
Yes. What?
Okay. I feel like that should be the opposite, but yeah.
We
this
can
is-
swap them if you guys
No. I want to.
Well, yeah, this was way better than Semi. I mean,
No.
Semi is just,
Yeah, whatever.
I feel like it's fun because I feel like
Yeah. On the bottom line, they're all fun.
Yeah.
We're gonna cover 3 films for Comedy Month. We're gonna be covering Tropic Thunder, Ben Stiller's Tropic Thunder,
I know everybody fucking.
Dynamite.
Black Dynamite, and Semi-Pro. We're gonna be able to cover these 3
I
films.
did that shit before I walked in
You
the
know,
door.
Part of the reason why we're only doing 3 films is because next month we're actually also covering our 100th episode.
That
We're
big
going to be
old
doing
100.
2001: A Space Odyssey to see what the hype is and whether we believe it or not.
It's a lot of
and it's
Big
all a
hype.
lie apparently. But we are going to be doing some 3 comedy picks that we really love and want to talk about. And
Who doesn't like comedy?
Again, just oh dear God, just like turn off our brains again and talk about comedy as a
yeah,
we're gonna have fun.
True,
It'll be
We're,
a good palate reset.
we
Yeah.
won't be at each other's throats.
I didn't see
Hopefully,
it. Yeah.
I think we're gonna.
we
talk-
were for last comedy month, but I think again, I think we're just gonna keep going into that argument. I am certainly leaning into that argument again that comedy belongs in its own bubble.
No cinematic.
No
kind of like
cinematic.
documentary,
This is
like
not
you know.
cinema?
Comedy is comedy.
Yeah,
We'll get into
Comedy
that
is
next
comedy.
week.
because yeah.
Comment.
Comedy is
But
comedy.
tune in next week
But
for
you got a
Tropic
point.
Thunder.
You got a point. You got a point.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like these are the genres we like diving into because it again when we talk about our list of like what's impacted us and what's gonna stay with us.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna change my life choices because of these movies, but these movies will be next to me every step of the way of my life.
for
Like
sure.
it's just
Comfort
something.
food.
Yeah.
I love it.
Comfort food.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for sticking around for over 2 hours.
Yeah. Please make sure to subscribe and like the podcast. Stay tuned. We'll make an announcement soon about our live episode, which will be sometime in mid-July,
August.
mid-August.
Well, that's when the episode will be.
Yeah. Well, that weekend we'll record too. So just stay tuned for that. We'll do it at
It's
Aaron
gonna
and
be
George's Film
different.
Cafe.
It's going to be ramped up.
Excited
It's
to go
going
back.
to be way
Yeah.
better than it was before. It's 2.0.
100 episodes. So stay tuned for that. If you guys have any suggestions, we're still taking suggestions and we'll add them to our list. If you
Yeah,
guys
we
want us to
love
cover
Hot takes,
something, let
hot
us know.
requests.
Thank you guys for tuning into the WatchTower Film Podcast. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
All right, everybody, do
Love
your
you
best,
guys.
Chewy.
Damn.
I love wieners.
That guy's good. He's got some.
Good night, everybody.